En la noche de la radio. Ya comienza. Coming Media Box.
Ahora. Como todas las noches, señores, bienvenido a esto que es Comics Media Box y le decimos a todos buenas noches. Un aplauso a toda la gente que está aquí conectada. Bienvenidos, señores. No aprende, pero ya lo vamos a hacer aprender. Ahí está, muy bien por Jaime, me mató. Ahí está eso. Bienvenidos, señores, a todos los que están del otro lado. Esto es Comics Media Box y gracias por su compañía, por estar ahí con nosotros. Gambi, bienvenido.
Buenas noches, bienvenido. Digo, buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Estoy reseteando todavía.
Pero está bien, estamos todos iguales. Yo también estoy reseteando. ¿Estabas conmigo en la fiesta? Eso está bueno, ¿eh? Bueno, a Gio le vuelvo a decir buenas noches. Hola. Gio, ¿cómo estás?
Todo muy bien.
Ahí está. Ernesto, ¿cómo estás, Ernesto?
Todo bien, todo bien. No te veo desde el año pasado.
No me ves desde el año pasado, es verdad.
Desde el año from last year, man.
Ah, rayo. Y lo tenemos a Jaime también con nosotros. Jaime, ¿cómo estás?
Todo bien, todo bien.
Y señores, tenemos la visita especial del señor Tom Beland con nosotros. Un aplauso para él, bienvenido. Welcome, Tom.
I totally understood that also.
Ya. Bueno, señores, hoy vamos a tener, para la gente que no lo sabe, él es uno de los escritores que se dedica a Fantastic Four, Spider-Man y entre tantas cosas, Así que ahí me lo está mostrando Jaime, ahí vamos a mostrar la cámara, mostrarlo ahí a la camarita. Muy bien, Jaime, aquí, vamos, te lo voy a poner ahí, para que la gente pueda ver de qué se trata lo que nuestro querido amigo... Ahí está, espera que yo tengo un lío de cámaras aquí, pero ya estoy ahí, eso mismo. Ahí está, la gente puede ver, ahí está, acá, ahí, ponlo ahí para que la gente vea. Ahí está, así que hoy vamos a estar con Tom y vamos a estar hablando un poquito de tantas cosas que depara todo esto, ¿no es cierto? Que es los cómics y un poquito la historia y todo eso, Así que, chicos, en libertad empezó oficialmente el programa. Ahí está, Gambi, hazte cargo del programa que voy a acomodar algunas cosas. ¿Listo?
Ya estamos aquí. Buenas noches a todos.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, Gambit.
That's good. He's practicing.
This might be a long show.
So we're gonna have a different kind of show tonight. We're gonna make this English and Spanish today. So because our friend here, Tom, is not
Click.
is not very good at Spanish right now. So bear with us. My English is not that good, así que por favor.
I'll try some Spanish. Since you're trying, I'm gonna try. Also.
You're gonna try.
I'll try it also.
You're gonna try with us.
English
So,
too.
¿qué tenemos para hoy, Jaime? ¿Qué tenemos para hoy?
Bueno, hoy pues voy a quise hacer algo diferente. I wanted to do something different from showing action figures and different lines, and I'm gonna show the people how to customize a figure.
Oh, that's nice. That's
You mean like
awesome.
stripping off the paint and repainting it and that kind of stuff?
Kind of stuff,
Okay.
but that's one way. I'm gonna show another way, another simpler way.
A simpler way.
Good at that, actually. He's really good. Yeah, he's really good.
I like the part where you said simpler way.
Yeah, that's key for us.
Ernesto, ¿qué trajiste para hoy?
Well, today I'm going to speak about a different type of theme, actually, because we haven't spoken about games in this program, actually. So I will be talking about the 3DS, and specifically mine's the Zelda one, XL, that came out like 3 months ago, actually, something like that. I'm going to be speaking about two games, actually, Pokemon and The Last Zelda, which is Link Between Two Worlds. Why am I going to be speaking about that? Well, Link Between Worlds is a continuation from an old game, actually, so I like people to know, and I like to speak of things that I have, experience in. If I haven't read it or played it or used it or whatever, I don't like to speak about it, seriously,
Very
because, it's not the same thing.
For
So that's what I have
For about 3 of those games, I was calling him Zelda. And then I said to my niece, and she destroyed me. She just blew me away, saying, "Why do you call him Zelda?"
It's okay. It's like Metroid. Metroid actually, so much people say Metroid, but Metroid is not the girl, actually. It's the thingy that flies animal like Samus. It's the girl.
I didn't even know there was a girl.
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah.
I never played this girl. I know of it, but I never played that one.
It is a girl. Most
girl.
people have this misconception that like Zelda. Zelda. That's Zelda, right? Oh no, my God, no. So it happens.
Link.
It's
I go back to
Nintendo.
Nintendo and no Atari.
Atari.
Like when
Atari,
Pong
eh?
came out, the neighborhood was going crazy. You should see this dot. It goes back and forth.
Oh my
If you had to go like, you'd
remember that
go
game.
get a sandwich and just leave it there like 6 hours.
But that was a really
Fry out your TV.
that was a really good game. Actually, I'm gonna be speaking about the fun factor in games too,
Yeah?
which is really important on 3DS.
Yeah, that's really important.
That's
My
right.
thing was Final Fantasy, but when the girl was killed by Sibirath,
Final
we all
Fantasy
were
7.
stunned. We played it like twice. We thought maybe we did something wrong, and then we got so mad at these people for making this game. Like, why would you make us kill her?
Yeah, there's a game, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, that you have to either choose Nightcrawler or choose, I think it's Phoenix, and you have to choose one. You cannot save both of them. And
It's like
one
Sophie's Choice.
One of them is gonna die, and I look it up. It is impossible. You have to be able to save both
Well,
of
I
them.
would
It's a
choose-
superhero game. You have to be able to save both of them. No, you
I
have
would
to let
choose
one of them die.
Nightcrawler because Phoenix comes back to life.
Yeah, exactly,
she?
exactly. I don't remember. I didn't play past that. You know,
I played Lego
I was
Marvel.
stuck at there. I was stuck at there, and I said, I'm not gonna play this anymore.
The Marvel Lego game is adorable.
I haven't played
Like,
that
I
one.
play-
They are
Mini
really
Galactus all over
good.
the
That's
place.
very true. They are really every Lego game I've played. Really Star Wars.
Oh, they're all great, yeah.
Lord of the Rings
Yes.
and Spider-Man, Marvel.
I like when they build. They go.
good.
So
I
what do we
like the
have?
sound.
What do we have for tonight, Gio? What do you have for us
Well,
tonight?
I have here the 20 must-see movies of the 2014, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about an activity that we went past Sunday.
Yep.
And
It was great.
It was great. It was full of kids. I really like it. So
Yeah, me too.
we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on.
Do we have to see all 20 movies tonight? You're not leaving this room.
Until you see them all.
Come out blinking.
Okay, so what do I have for tonight? I have a few news. I have a rumor about Wonder Woman's movie debut.
Ah, yeah, I heard about that.
man.
And I
I
saw
hope
the
that's a
article you
rumor.
put.
No, I'm going to show you something because we're going to talk about that rumor, and we're going to talk about something that the same guy posted the next day, regarding what he posted. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about Brad Meltzer honoring Detective Comics number 27 that's out today. Actually, it's a for those of you who know, Detective Comics number 27 is the first appearance of Batman way back in 1940. So it's commemorating that issue, the first appearance of Batman. They did this big-ass comic of Detective Comics number 27.
Do they all have
so,
big asses, or is
I hope so.
big
I hope
ass
so.
Batman's playing full tights on?
We're gonna talk about what Star Wars is moving to Star Wars comic books are moving to Marvel Comics, and something about setting straight their chronology and continuity in all everything that's Star Wars. So
Where are they now? Who's making those now?
the comic books,
Yeah.
it's Dark Horse until
Okay,
2015. In 2000, I think it's 15 or 14 that Marvel Comics is gonna take over again. So
Disney
let's
owns
see.
everything, though.
Yeah,
Everything.
Yeah.
They're going to own this table by the end of the year.
yeah. By the end of the
Owned
year,
by Disney.
hopefully, hopefully by the end of the year they will own the program. That would be
Thanks for the car, Gambit. Bye.
So let's start. Jaime,
Okay.
enseña lo que nos va a traer hoy.
Okay.
¿Cómo va a trabajar eso?
As I said before, para customizar una figura, eso es lo que vamos a hacer hoy. Lo primero es conseguir el personaje que quieres customizar. Choosing the character that you want to customize in an action figure. Let's say, like Tom says, there's different ways of customizing the figure.
In my day, we would just take the paint off and repaint them.
Yeah, like, I have something like this.
Like, you had to find someone who matched that.
This is actually an action figure from the line DC Universe.
Which
Okay.
one is that?
Is
Thank
it?
you. This was
Green Man.
gold from the Metal Man.
Oh, okay.
The thing is that the paint is already taken off and stuff like that, and to customize these figures, well, you have to take all the paint off.
And what do you use for that? Just paint remover?
No. The thing is to change the character.
Yeah.
Okay, because this is the base. Then
Yeah, but when you take the paint off the original, are you using just model paint remover? Or?
With paint remover thinner.
Okay.
With thinner. You can take thinner, and of course, if you use thinner, you have to use a mask, a face mask, and it's got to be an open.
Why?
Yeah, too.
I never knew that.
Why?
Unless you want to inhalate.
Walk into my office,
breeze.
walk into my office when I'm inking
breathe.
and it smells. The fumes are huge.
There's no fun in that. What are you talking
Started
about?
off being Captain America, but now is the Falcon.
All
Man.
right, all right. Then this is a way, to make customized figures, stuff like that, to take the paint off, you change, alterate the figure instead to see what it has or what it doesn't have. That's one of the ways.
But can you take off he has something on his chest like a tapestry?
Yeah.
Can that come off?
Yeah, that can you can check it out.
Well, I don't know. I don't often play with action figures all the time. Oh, it does come off. Okay.
Yeah, this can.
I'm afraid to rip it off now.
No, it's no problem.
Ow, 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 ow,
Don't worry, it's
ow,
not
ow.
you.
No,
It's
I'm
not
gonna-
yours
I
if
won't
you
pull it off
Another
now.
one, yeah.
if
I
you
break
break
it, I have to
it.
buy it.
No,
Yeah.
it's already paid for, so
He
you
looks
have
like it
nothing
could be
to
the
worry
Vision
about.
or Martian Manhunter.
It could be anyone you want actually, because you can alterate the views of what
Or the
you
Deadly
can,
Olive.
you can make
It's got an olive color.
you can make his face different. You can put a helmet on it. You can
Now,
the carrot.
But then how are you making? How are you altering it though? That's what I don't get.
Okay, the thing is,
Uh-huh.
you have to use different materials.
Okay.
Of course, this is a base figure, and most of the superheroes, what they change is the type of the hair,
Yeah.
the face, but it's mostly the same figure, the same figure and stuff like that. That's from.
But are you using like a hot tool to get rid of pieces?
It could. You can use Sculpey. Sculpey is like
What's Sculpey?
Sculpey is a clay that you use and you can put it in the oven.
Yeah.
You don't have to put it exactly in the oven. You can use a blower to heat it up, and it transforms.
really-
It transforms
really hard.
it gets.
Oh, okay.
It gets
Like a hard plastic or a hard?
hard.
Harder than
Ceramic,
foam,
like
hard foam.
ceramic,
Okay. Ceramic,
ceramic
foam.
stuff like that.
And you can sculpt it. You
Yeah,
can sculpt it,
because
and then
it's a clay.
you heat
It's
it,
a
right?
kind of a clay, yeah.
I've never heard of this stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one too that's called I used to call it putty or potty. I don't know how
Potty,
it's
yeah.
called. That it's two parts. It's a green, it's like a green clay and a yellow clay, and you put both of them together, and it depends on the amount of each part. How is it going to be? Is it going to be?
Yeah.
It's going to take
How
longer
hard it's
to
gonna
get
be,
hard, or is it going to be take less to get hard? It's all going to depend, and you can put it on and mold it and do all that stuff.
We just had clay.
Yeah, it's something like that, but it gets hard, and that sounded horrible.
Like no, but my niece is
I know,
taking my niece is taking a course. She's taking she takes algebra and trigonometry, and I'm like, we just had math.
Yeah,
Just
right.
basic math. So we
Right?
talk about this stuff.
And that was
it's like,
it.
we just
Like
had
what?
clay, a block of clay, and that's all we had. But
that's-
this is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the ways you to customize a figure and stuff like that. You can alter it and depend. And the first thing you have to choose is the figure. Okay.
¿Ya tú escogiste el personaje que va a usar?
Oh yeah.
Sí, perdona que te interrumpa, Jaime, es que tenemos una llamada, tenemos a Emilio en Skype. Emilio,
Ok.
¿cómo estás? ¿Todo bien?
Emilio, what was the first issue of Batman? He knows everything about comics.
Yeah.
Detective Comics number 27.
Sí,
there you go.
sí.
Yeah, but you got that from Dan.
So, ¿cómo está Emilio?
¿Todo bien? Felicidades a todos.
Igualmente,
Igual.
igualmente.
Gracias a todos. Buenas noches.
¿Y cómo la pasaste estas navidades, Reyes, despedida de año? ¿Qué más hace todo el mundo?
Navidades, Año Nuevo, recogidito. Reyes en Ponce. Y pues todo, no me puedo quejar.
Eso está bueno, eso está muy bueno. So, cuéntanos, ¿a qué se debe esa llamada dichosa y privilegiada de usted en la noche de hoy?
Pues quería compartir con Tom. First of all, hi Tom.
Hello.
Nice talking to you.
Felicidades.
Oh, there we go.
I know these words. I know.
Felicidades, Tom. Well, I wanted to ask questions to Tom about his early years with True Stories Swear to God. I
It's weird to
also
hear
wanted
that's
to talk
called
with
the early years.
with Gambit about Batman the Killing Joke, if he's going to talk about it today.
About the Killing Joke?
Batman the Killing Joke.
Yeah, we talked about it last week's show. We talked about that.
Okay, well, never mind.
What about it? Like my opinion of it?
Well,
All right.
hello. I wanted to talk specifically about the early years of True Story Swear to God.
Okay.
Specifically, what can I say? How easy or how hard it was in those early days to get those first mini comics out.
Well,
You remember?
I didn't know what I was doing, so it was really hard. Like, I was contacting other cartoonists saying, "How do you make a book?" And like I didn't know what saddle stitching was. I didn't know what a paper weight was for the actual weight of the paper for the covers, the glossies. So I would just tell them, make it like there's a book called Colonia by Jeff Nicholson, who I was good friends with, and he said, just tell the printers to make it like my book, because they made his books. And I said, make it like Colonia. To this day, I don't know how to make a book. It's just, as far as the content, some people ask me, how do you handle the embarrassing stuff that's in it? But you're only going to be embarrassed for like 2 days, because the comic comes out Wednesday, and then they buy it, and they talk about like if it's Viagra or a cockroach landing on my face or whatever. But by Friday, they're talking about next week's comic books. They're all saying like, oh my God, next week this is so. If you can ride that wave of embarrassment for 2 days, I kind of like that wave though, because you also you think that nobody else is going through what you're writing about, and then you start getting emails from people in Paris or people in like Thailand. They'll say, I got your book, and it's like you're writing my life, and it's like you live in Thailand. I don't know. I don't even know what language you speak in Thailand. Is Taiwanese or no? That's Taiwan. That was stupid. So, in the early days, my first 4 books were 48 pages. Also, they weren't 24, and there were no ads, so it was all content. I was just making a book for my wife to read, and if everybody else read it, great. But the sales were really low. They were like 720, where your worst Batman book makes a couple 100,000 copies. But we got nominated for some Eisner Awards, and that kind of told me that maybe I was doing something interesting there. But those books, the 720 weren't like regular fans. They were just writers and editors, people in the business, so they knew how I wrote. And when Marvel called me, they wanted me to write relationship books, like Spider-Man, Mary Jane, or Reed and Sue, because that was sort of my wheelhouse. But I didn't know I even had a style of writing or anything. I was just making these books, and people started, like Web of Romance. That's my favorite book of all the ones I've written, because that's me as Spider-Man and Lily as Mary Jane.
That's awesome.
Because if you can ground a character in something you really know, it's much easier to write a character. Like The Thing is my brother Joe.
It's more personal too.
Yeah, the hardest one to write was Reed, because I'm not a genius, so I don't. Every invention I had in making seemed so stupid at the time. I have a thing where the Fantastic Car always seemed to blow up in a million pieces on every Fantastic Four book. So I made a button that it reassembles itself automatically. They said, "What do you want to call it?" I said, "I have no idea. I thought you guys would name it." And they said, "No, if you create it, you have to name it." So I was calling people who wrote Fantastic Four saying, "How do you do it?" And they go, "You just throw out some bullshit name." I had it the redo. That's how much of a genius I am. There was no technical thing. It was like, that's the redo feature. And then you just move on. But you also have to learn how to let go of a book, because you'll tinker with it so much that eventually you have to you make it the book that you would pay for. And like when I go to the comic shop, my competition isn't Batman or Spider-Man. That people are going to buy those books. I buy those books. But the other books like Fables, like at the Eisners, my competition was Fables, I think Why the Last Man, Whiteout by Greg Rucka. Books that you go, well, I guess this night's over. I'm going to drink. Because I knew I wasn't winning anything. You make something that you like, and then hopefully they'll buy it. If you try to write for an audience, you're going to be totally screwed up as a writer. You can't do that. You have to write the thing that you're going to say, your story. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Nice. It actually cleared a lot of my
doubts.
Yeah, my doubt.
Everyone has doubts
Because I write. I mean, I've only published one comic. It was a web comic, just one issue, and that's it. I stopped doing it, and I didn't write it. I just drew, but
Illustrated,
but I really want to write something one day, and for me it's really hard to write something because I always approach it of what
Your experiences.
you're gonna like or what you're gonna like, and
Yeah, you can't do that.
now I know it's not.
Plus, you
it's for
compare
me.
yourself to
Yeah.
people who you buy.
Okay.
Like the book, I'm doing a book now called Chicacabra,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of Jeff Smith is in that book. A lot of if you read it, you can really see.
Yeah.
I should say the bone influence. That sounds as
Yeah.
bad as the one you said earlier, but
Sorry.
in that sense, I mean, when you write autobio, I got into that because I followed a strip named Keith Knight called the K Chronicles,
Okay.
where he wrote about his life. And he's a black cartoonist out of Boston. We have nothing in common in that to that degree. But everything he wrote about, I thought was fantastic. And when I met him, I said, "I'd like to do what you do." And he said, "Well, get off your ass and make comics." And so I started writing in my own voice. You have to. Don't pretend to be Chris Claremont, or don't pretend to be Dan Slaughter, don't pretend to be Brian Bendis. Tell the story the way you want to tell it,
Okay.
and then see what people say. Otherwise, they're going to say, "Well, you're just trying to be Brian Bendis."
Okay.
The only thing I have in common with Bendis is that I write a shitload of dialogue.
It's like when I try to illustrate something, I always try to but I always use a lot of influence from a lot of the artists I like. For example, I used to, and I don't do it anymore, but I used to look at a lot of Jim Lee books and Dan Jorgen books and Greg Capullo books and all that. And the other day I saw a post, someone posted on Twitter, practicing to be the next Greg Capullo, and he answered.
Don't.
He answered.
Yeah.
His words were, "Practice on be the next you."
Yeah.
Or the first you. And I mean, I'm 35 now. I would have loved to hear those words way before when I started.
But I didn't start my career
illustrating.
until I was like 37. So I think a lot of people think you get out of high school and you just start writing Spider-Man. It's not the case. I teach classes to teenagers on cartooning. I've had the same class for like a year and a half now. And they're so afraid of making mistakes, either writing or drawing. And if you're going to have that mentality of, like, I take their erasers away when I start the classes. I say, "Give me all your erasers." Because I don't want them to focus on the mistake. If you have an eraser nearby, you try to draw a circle, you go, "No, it's not right."
Yeah.
If you don't have it, you got to make that work, and you shape that
Yeah.
thing.
That's
And
it.
you go through that, I'm sure,
Yeah,
with
I
this.
know.
Because you
That's
you
what
work
I wanna
3D.
say. Yeah, I know.
And so, but I'm sure when you look at a figure and you go, that's like page 1 of a book I'm working on. It's a blank page. Page 1's the worst. Page 1's the worst. The last page is great, but then you have another stack of 24 or 48 pages to go through. When you look at an action figure, you don't just go, "Oh, here it is, blah, blah, blah." You look at it from all angles and go, "Okay, how am I going to approach this?
Yeah, I know.
How can I change this to this?" And when you write, I like to write just like I'm telling someone I know a story. And I've always been a good storyteller. I did stand-up comedy for 3 years in San Francisco, and you learn how to trust how you tell a story. And if I tried to be Jeff Smith, I would fail miserably at it. I've tried to be Terry Moore a couple times. And when I read it, I went, "Oh, this is horrible." But you have to have horrible moments to grow as an artist or
That's
Yeah.
very true. You
Or
learn
photographer.
from your mistake. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you learn from your mistakes. Yeah.
That's like you
many-
gotta hit the wall.
how many red eyes did you shoot before you realized, "Oh, now I know what to do"?
No, actually,
Yeah.
that was not the problem. The red eyes were not
Yeah.
ever a problem. The shadows. I'm really picky with the
Yeah.
shadows and the way the light, shows in the face and stuff like that. And you know,
Excuse me, Tom. Tom,
Sí.
I believe there's someone else who's trying to call, so I'm gonna hang up.
And some fan you are.
Antes de que te vayas, Emilio, ¿tienes alguna otra pregunta, alguna otra duda?
No, por ahora no. Si tengo mejor le escribo, porque creo que hay más gente tratando de llamar.
Ok,
Lo
Let me
que
answer
voy a
that.
hacer es que lo escribo por texto en el chat.
está bien.
Y entiendo que sí es mejor.
Ok, gracias, Emilio.
Gracias, Emilio.
Emilio knows more about my stuff than I do.
Emilio knows a lot of stuff.
He's like the
Yes.
vision. It's like, "Oh, well, that was issue 4.
It's
Some-
a walking
some-
wiki.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people think I know, but I'm pretty sure he knows a lot of stuff more than
he
me.
knows way more stuff than I do.
No, he's a walking encyclopedia. I'm pretty sure of it.
So we
I have someone here asking, what do you suggest for an up-and-coming writer that wants to make it into the comic business?
Don't focus on getting into the comic business. Just make books. I mean, really, make books for your friends. It depends on how old you are also. if you're like my students are like 17 and 18 years old, and some are 14. That should be a period. I think everywhere from 14 through your late 20s. That should be all experimentation. That shouldn't be I'm going to make a book and sell books. That doesn't mean it can't be done, but you need to fail a few times to get good. My brother can play golf. He's a great golfer. My brother Tino here on the island. He hits those balls that start real low and they go way up like the pros do. And I'm the Hulk. I'm just smashing the balls, going this way and that way. But you have to hit it like that to understand what you're doing wrong.
And you have to practice.
Yeah, and you got to start hook up with an artist that you know. But don't hook up and then get all, stupid on each other with the rights to the work and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to make money at first. Mm-hmm. Make mini comics, go to a convention, and just sit at the table and just get used to dealing with your readers. Even if I went to San Diego one year with mini comics. I had the worst banner. It was like one of those printers that goes like with little like asterisks for designs. That was my big banner. It was taped on the wall behind me, and it was like crooked. And then when I was first selling my books, and I thought, I'm not going to sell a single book with this banner. But then Kurt Busiek comes walking by and says, "You're the book my wife reads before she goes to bed." And so when you think no one's reading your book, yeah. And I just kind of sat there and watched time stand still for a couple minutes. And I said, thank you. And here I signed a book for her. And don't worry about who's reading your stuff because you'll find it eventually. But that first book of True Story is embarrassing to me because the heads look like lava lamps. And I didn't know what I was drawing. And my lettering is like 24 point. It's huge. So it looks like everyone's screaming. They're like, I met my wife at a bus stop. Yeah, that. I didn't know what I was doing. Those heads are just so embarrassing. But now when I look at it, there is a sense that I have a great fondness for that also because I can tell where I was growing as a writer. I figured out backgrounds. I figured out how to semi-draw decent cars and stuff like that. I'm sure your first action figures looked like complete crap.
Yeah, I know.
You threw them against the wall. I'm going to do this ever again.
You started when I was young when I make my figures, as a kid. I made my figures out of clay. And the thing is that clay, if you play with it, they get destroyed, they get smashed.
Yeah.
They get, and then I started different.
You start researching it.
Yeah, researching and stuff like that.
Well, how come his aren't melting and mine are? And you figure out why they're doing it.
I used to melt a lot of plastic. And the thing is, I in my searching, I discovered that if you put the wire inside of the clay will stay a little bit longer, in the shape. And then you can move it, stuff.
But how long did it take you to go from like,
I don't remember.
This sucks to, oh my God, I should put wire in my clay.
Yeah.
And you feel like the dumbest guy in the room. You're like, oh, you guys put wire in your clay?
Now I know. Now I still have some of the figures that I made when I was a kid, and I'd say, that was crap.
Everyone, no matter what you do, it's going to be crap at first.
I know.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Do you hide your photos from people?
Actually, I don't.
Good.
The other day, like 6 months ago, I went from checking my old pictures. So I started like, let me work this picture again to see what I can do right now. I was like, whoa, I did that. And when I looked at the past picture, I was, no, hell no, that's not me.
You gotta, but then you can see how you've grown.
That's right.
In yours.
Yeah.
Like, I think the best issue I did in True Story was the New York issue, because I had to draw Times Square, and then I remember calling Marvel to say, "Could I borrow Spider-Man? Because I need him for a scene that I'm doing." Where when I went to New York for the first time, I looked around at all the buildings, and I said, "Man, he can really swing from everywhere on here."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to show that. Plus, this character got me through my parents' death. It got me through everything in my life. Was my one break from cancer in the family was going up the hills and reading Spider-Man for an hour. That was amazing to me. So the lawyer said, no, we can't. They're copyrighted characters. Can't use them. And then they went in, I think, Tom Brewer's office and said, some guy wanted to use Spider-Man. He says, who? And he said my name. He says, that guy adores him. He's not going to do anything weird with the character. So he called me back and said, yeah, you can use whoever you want to. So I got to use Nightcrawler and Mr. Fantastic and the Torch and Green Goblin. I got those 2 pages were my favorite 2 pages of the series.
I'm trying to look for
But
it.
you have to learn how to... So drawing-wise, that was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But emotionally, it was probably the 9/11 issue, because that was the engagement issue. And that's... we got engaged during the 9/11 attacks.
I found that one.
Wow,
Yeah.
Right.
So that when you look at that, you go like,
Sorry to God.
it's a hard issue, but at the same time, there's a really beautiful thing where we're going to get married from that. And but man, to relive all that stuff, there's a lot of things you don't want to relive. I did a comic strip once about I was going to do something about my dad, and I forgot what he looked like because it had been like 30 years since I've seen him. And I wrote about what is it like to forget who the main person in your life was. And every panel I cried. I would draw a panel, go away, cry a little bit, come back. But I get more responses on that cartoon about, like, man, I went through the same thing when my parents died. I get people to say, how long does it take to get over my dad dying? And I'll say, when did it happen? They'll say, 10 years ago. And if they did their job right, you never get over it.
Yeah,
It's true.
You know?
that is true.
I see people who get over their parents and they're still alive. You know, and I'm thinking, man, you don't understand that sand dial is going down like Wizard of Oz, and when it's gone, like I don't care how much you hate your parents, when they're gone, you immediately think I should have fixed that relationship.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's true.
And mine died being the greatest dad and the greatest mom on earth. You know, so
They were
it's
yours.
that wound is so raw in me that when I talk about it, I still
Yeah.
get emotional on it, just like that, you know, and you never get over it. So when you write about stuff like that, if it's affecting you as a writer, then you got to write about it. The reader knows when you're bullshitting them. When they're like, oh, you didn't. I had a guy who was a columnist for the Napa Register who read something I wrote, and I kind of made a pretty little ending with a bow, and he says, don't do that. Just if it's a raw ending, make it raw and go with that.
Okay.
He says, you had me till the last panel, then he was a great critique of my work.
Okay.
And now when I make books, it's you go places that you don't want to go to. You know?
Okay.
Everyone's had that moment in their life when they say, "Oh, I'm never talking about this ever in public." But when you do, and stand-up comedy kind of taught me that also. Because if you watch, like, my favorite comedian is Louis C.K. He talks about some embarrassing stuff on stage, but you laugh because you relate to it. And when he talks about his kids, sometimes his kids just annoy the hell out of him, and he talks about that. And it's every parent in the audience going, "Oh, thank God!" I go through the same thing. Bill Cosby did it back in the day, also.
Bill Cosby, yeah.
Come here, you know. And the kids still do it today. So you know, it's just you're only gonna get as good as you invest in it. If you're gonna just BS your way through it and write only happy stories, you're not gonna have an audience.
People are gonna notice.
You gotta expose your soul to them, and
You gotta be true.
yeah. Well, the same photography. You gotta capture that moment. You can't just say smile.
And I think in every in every art is like an emotional expression, a physical emotional expression actually, and it's the way we can materialize emotions into one thing that everybody can look and relate to. Actually, I always try on every picture I do, even though it may be commercial, it may be a food, try to make it artistic and an emotional look and have that emotional feeling, which is actually very hard to do sometimes. And sometimes you say, oh, it's impossible. I did not accomplish what I wanted to do. But you went to someone and you show the picture, and the person goes like, wow, man, that picture looks really awesome. And I'm like, I don't see anything on it, but
Oh yeah, I go through that too.
And I actually believe that if you're gonna do, I was talking to someone actually like an hour ago about this, that if you want to be better at anything, actually, in his case, he wanted to be a graphic designer, game designer. You gotta practice a lot, and you gotta, accept criticism, because that's the way you know what you're doing wrong. I know that's destructive or constructive because people sometimes don't know how to talk.
I'm brutal on portfolios.
No, but you learn.
If you want me to look at a portfolio,
Hello.
it's gonna be like,
Either way, you learn about what you're doing or stuff like that. If you want to change it.
I hate when people give me portfolios and they say, here's page one, that I was really tired when I made that arm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then take it out of your portfolio. Don't tell me this is, just let me tell you that arm looks weird. Don't tell me it. If you go to a restaurant and you go like, here's the spaghetti, don't eat the noodles. Chef doesn't wash his hands. You want to just put yourself out there and let the criticism come from the other person. Don't tell them that it's going to suck on page 4.
Yeah, and I told him that you're gonna have bad criticism, like very destructive one, and really constructive one. But you gotta take every criticism the same way and analyze it, because I am a firm believer, and I had this a long time ago, that even very destructive criticism has a certain degree of truth, actually. The only difference is it's going to be pushed by a certain anger or something like that, emotional thing that's going to be big, but it's a certain degree of truth. But I am brutal, actually, with people that they say that they know what they're doing and they go, oh, I'm this great artist. I'm really brutal.
I'm always amazed I got the gig.
Hell no.
Whenever I get a gig, I'm always amazed. Like, really? I look behind me. You know, when I was in New York, I was doing a signing with there's a book called Flight that a bunch of animators did. And we were there at Jim Hanley's Universe, and I was signing True Story. I think it's the book that you had there. It's the Chances Are book. And this guy comes in and he says, I love this book. And I said, oh, you're the one. You know, just like I had like one reader. And we were drawing drunken Iron Man sketches. And so I had Iron Man, I had him like on his hands on knees and vomits coming out of his eye slits and mouth slits. And there's just vomit coming out of every rivet.
Part,
And the guy says, you should write a Peter Parker Mary Jane story. And I said, if Marvel knew what my last name was, it would just rock my world. And he goes, well, you never know. He puts his card down, slides it at me face down, and he just walks off. I signed the book, I gave him a sketch, And I noticed that the Flight guys weren't talking anymore, and the guys behind the counter weren't talking either. And I go, what's the matter? And they said, look at the card. And Lily, we were there for a wedding, and Lily was showing her aunts, who are in their 80s, what a comic shop was. And so they were all going, oh my God, this is so cool. And she looked at me, and I'm just staring at this card. When I flip the card over, there's a giant Spider-Man on the card. And it's like a John Romita Spider-Man, just like this. And it says Tom Brevoort, Marvel Comics. And I just stared at it.
You had the 2000 Odyssey song.
Yeah.
Right?
And I looked at the other guys, I go like, did he give you guys one? He goes, no, we didn't get any of those. And so that night, Lily woke up. We were at a hotel. She woke up like 2 a.m. and I was on the sitting on the windowsill of the hotel room, and it was snowing. Just staring at this card. But the other thing was, no matter how high the moment is for me, I can come crashing down emotionally because my dad's not there to see that. Yeah. And so I'm like crying my eyes out because this would have been the payoff. My dad got me my first Spider-Man book. I used to bring home Mad Magazine. My mom would say, oh, why are you bringing that crap in the house? But my dad would say, bring it over. Let's check it out. Dave Berg, Jack Davis, all these guys.
Yeah, he encouraged you a lot. Right?
Anytime I had a book come out, I like wait a day to go to the comic shop because it's a roller coaster for me to go through that kind of stuff.
We have a couple of questions here in the chat. The first one is, aside from Spider-Man, if you could pick an established character and do his or her monthly adventure, who would it be? And what will the story be about? I
pitched to DC a Wonder Woman series, a mini-series, where it was just her living with her boyfriend, Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor.
And it was just, they were living in this house, but every now and then Batman would appear out of nowhere and Superman flying through the chimney. And it's just Steve Trevor going, I can't deal with this stuff. And there's one scene where he goes, there's the front door, you have to go knock from now on. And so Batman and Superman both leave the house, and there's a pause there. And they hear this. And he goes, who is it? And it's Batman. And so he lets her, it's just like it's like a little humor book. But at the time, they were just making angry comics. So they weren't going there. But there's one, I had one with Aquaman where everybody rips on him speaking to the fish. But I love that about Aquaman. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to have every fish have a different personality, like where he goes like, oh, here come the dolphins. The dolphins don't shut up, and the seahorses are gossip, queens. And it was all about how there's so many bullshit fish in the ocean that he has to deal with. And then I pitch every now and then to them, but it's intimidating. But I would love to do Wonder Woman. I think that would be a great... it was just an interesting thing, because I have to draw it out in my style first, then I pitch the story.
Okay, that's. I hope that answers Ronin's question. I have another question from Emilio. It says, do you have inside of you another Fantastic Four tale to tell?
I guess, they asked me a long time ago if the Vejigante could come off the island. And I said, no. because he has to be bound to the island. And it would be so easy to say, yeah, take him to New York. But I wanted him to have a special place.
Okay.
You know? But you know those bladders they hit you with? I thought, if he fills that up with dirt, he could probably travel. But if it breaks, he goes back to the island. Kind of like Thor, like a Thor type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't read that one. That's the only one, the only Fantastic Four I don't have that you wrote.
That was fun. Kenny Martinez is the artist's name, and he goes by Juan Doe.
Yeah.
But he was a graffiti artist, never did a comic book ever. And
Yeah,
he heard
he's
about this
he's
script
amazing.
floating around, which is weird because I didn't know my script was floating around. I just pitched the idea, and he went to, I think, San Diego Con on his own dime and said, if you let me do this, I'll knock it out of the park. And he did. He does everything on a Cintiq.
Oh, okay, nice. I just got one, so I'm
He's a
practicing
tester
with
for
that.
Wacom. They send him the new model
Yeah.
every year.
I heard
We
that.
have another one here, and it's if you had the chance, what other comic book character would you be having visiting Puerto Rico on an adventure?
I don't know. I don't want to be known as the guy who brings everybody to Puerto Rico. You know. Also, I'm not Puerto Rican, so when you go to conventions, they look at you and they go like, "Oh, you're not Puerto Rican." But I've written a lot about the island. It's really weird for me. Bringing to the island, I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a White Tiger story also because she's Puerto Rican. I had a scene where they go to her apartment and they open up. Spider-Man opens the refrigerator, he gets something to drink, and there's like oranges on every level of the fridge. He goes, "What's with all the oranges?" And she says, "My father worked at a bakery called Balmudera in Puerto Rico. And his job was the orange juice guy. And he would squeeze oranges all day. But when I came home from school, he would cup my face with his hand saying, 'How was your day, my love?' And she would smell the oranges. So when she's in New York, every now and then she'd cut an orange in half and just smell it. And it would smell like, and the uncle, and the person died. And that's... So she always has these oranges because that's how much she misses that person. And then they said, well, we're doing something different with White Tiger. You're always competing with the guys doing the regular stories, doing the monthlies. If you want to use a certain character, that has to be approved. In Web of Romance, the opening scene was with the rhino hanging upside down. And they said, well, they're using rhino for something different. And it changed the whole beginning because he was just this idiot spinning around on a web going, I don't know. And Spider-Man's trying to find something to give Mary Jane for Valentine's Day. And Steve Wacker said, why don't you use the mandrill? I didn't know who that was. It's a guy with a baboon face who can make women do whatever he wants. But the whole opening changed to where instead of being an idiot, he thinks we're all idiots because we're buying things for women to get them to do things we want to do with them, where he just looks at people. So he's like, I don't know why you're buying diamonds. Why don't you just look at them? You know, to him, men are stupid. It's like, why would you ever buy something for a woman when you just make them do what they want? Like, he doesn't understand why we don't have that power. So he's just ridiculing him while they're spinning around. And it changed the whole flavor of that opening to where I like that much better. So sometimes it works in your favor, but you do have to clear what you want to do.
Yeah,
That's very true.
Especially with Marvel because Brian is probably using it for something, right?
But you know, it's their toys. You're borrowing their toys. Like, they own Vejigante now. They own, who else do we make for that? The Chupacabras and the everyone in there.
Oh, really?
We want to use the real politicians also. We called,
That would be awesome.
who was it? Who was
be
before Milhouse? Who was the guy before Milhouse?
Oh my God.
Hey, I'm sorry, but blame God. You look like a guy from The Simpsons. You look like Milhouse.
true,
Sorry.
very true.
Fortunio. I know his name's Fortunio, but you look like Milhouse. At least change the hairdo. But get a spiky or something.
Yeah, right?
More about the smile.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, everything about him looks like Milhouse.
yeah, everything.
But the guy before him was Annabelle?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so. Yeah.
we called them up to say, would you like to be in this comic? And his son was a big fan of Fantastic Four. And they said, oh, no, we will politely decline. And then we got hot and bothered by that. And what's his name? Kenny said, he's a public figure. We just won't use his name. So when you open it up, there he is. But his son went apeshit when he saw his dad in a Fantastic Four comic. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, yeah, well, why don't you use my name? But with Fortunio, we didn't even ask him. We just said, no, you're going to be in this comic. Sorry, but you go in the comic.
As Millhouse.
I have another.
That's Milhouse.
I have another question. Is that when did you know you wanted to make books?
I wrote a paper with my best friend in 4th grade.
Wow.
And it was about, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to make comic books. And he wrote, I want to make cartoons. And he directs Futurama, Peter Amazino. He directed Futurama. He's directed Drawn Together. He's directed Duckman. The final season of Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, he did the Futurama.
Stimpy, oh my God.
He tried to get me a job as an in-between artist on The Simpsons, and you had to take this bird with a long beak like a crane, and you had to rotate his head going this way to this way. I couldn't do it, man. I got so mad. I'm like, this is stupid. A stupid test. There's not even a bird in this show. And he was like, that's it. Gotta test what you gotta do. But we always get together. Like he knows Matt Groening. I was really impressed by that. But I know Sergio Aragones, and that's the guy who made him want to make cartoons. And so when I met him, he was like, how do you know this guy? And I was like, I've known this guy forever. So
That's awesome.
It's fun to see who knows what when you
Small world.
Yeah, when you get to
Yes.
do this kind of stuff, it's always fun to see who, you know. My favorite moment was I just wrote Spider-Man and Stan Lee came in an elevator. He goes, hold the door.
Wow.
And it's him and his two bodyguards came in and I'm
slow motion?
I'm next to him. And I know what to say, and I said, I just wrote Spider-Man. And he says, how was it? And I said, it was like, wow, a dream come true. And I can't believe that this guy who I've read since 4th grade is now saying words that came out of my head. That's just a weird book for me to read. And he goes, well, that's how I should always feel. And so he's walking out. I go, hey, can you give me one of those things? He goes like, face front, true believer. And the doors went shunk. And I was like, ah! Trying to dial Lily up. It's 4 in the morning over there. I go, Stanley, just got to face front, true believer. So that was the weirdest thing.
You wanted to ask something, Jaime?
Yeah. Yes, I was looking at some of your work and on Facebook and the web and stuff like that, and I stumbled into this.
Oh, no.
And this sketch, and I love it.
Oh, this is...
It looks so Puerto Rican.
Yeah, this is when he's using the Human Torch to make the pernil.
Oh.
Show it to the camera. Show it to the
That
camera.
one. Mira a ver si podemos ponerlo. Es que es blanco.
Sorry, I didn't have my free tricolor.
Yeah, thanks a
printer.
lot.
It was not-
That's one of the first sketches I did where I tried to tie in the island with the character. That might have been
I
when I was
love it. I
doing...
love it because the roast pork,
Yeah.
the roast pork is so Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
You know, and
Oh,
then-
but
and
don't
yeah,
forget the roast
banner,
pork.
I like the
yeah,
shorts on
banner with the
Spider-Man.
shorts, yeah. It's
I've done that. I've
It's
had...
so cool.
when my...
Okay.
En la cámara que está arriba.
Oh, you'll see that
Tiene que
perfectly.
acercar.
The zoom
It
in.
looks like you're robbing us now.
Sube, sube,
Un
sube.
poquito más, un poquito. Ahí.
There we go, world.
The Human
Yeah.
Torch is sitting there and they're roasting it over. My favorite sketch I've ever done was, I still have it. It was, the book used to be called Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. And so I have Spider-Man in a hammock with a pizza box over him, and he's smoking a joint, and it says, Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. And I thought I was going to get sued for it, and because I didn't print it, but I had it. But then I started getting other writers who say, how much for that drawing of Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane? I'm like, that's mine. It's not gonna hang up in my office. But I always get asked about that. They always say, how much do you want for that sketch? I don't know. It's a blank piece of paper when I start. I don't sit down and say, I'm going to make one of him making a pernil. I just start drawing. And I just, like, I doodle. And then from there, I'll redraw it and bring it together.
You let the pieces come together.
Yeah, you don't wake up and go, I hope I see an image of somebody
A
walking
UFO passing by.
You just, and you have it worse than I do because you have one shot at that.
I'm a true believer that you have to do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
you start working, for instance, you always have an idea of what you want. Like you go, I want to do this, but in the meantime, other ideas are going to be coming in. So I
Yeah.
always tell people, don't be, blinded by your what you want. Actually, let
Obsession.
things just flow, man. Just
Have you ever been shooting one thing and then someone walks by and you go, oh no, that's what I want to shoot there.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah, of course. In the light of that's happened a lot of times.
I go to Starbucks every morning for about 3 hours, and I work on my pages. I always post on my Facebook. Sketch pages, or if I'm doing a drawing for somebody, that's my place where I do all the sketching part. And I go home and redraw everything. But I'll also see people walk in. If I'm working on Chicacabra, I'll watch the girls walk in from school and stuff and see what they're wearing. I'll make notes. So I can kind of keep it current as far as the fashions. I can't do fashion at all. And Lily wore the same outfit for the first 4 issues of True Story. And then she said, yeah, she goes, I do have other clothes. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, why don't you put me in some other outfits? I went, you're lucky you're in my book. Shut up, It's,
She actually.
I said, Wilma Flintstones wore the same thing, and she's an iconic character from the Flintstones. But the next day, I put her in this little miniskirt, this little black miniskirt, and she goes, "Well, that's too short."
She actually told me something the last time that I spoke with her. She told me that when she saw that she was dressed the same way in all those issues, she actually went and gave you like catalogs, like here.
Yeah,
here.
I got a lot of the
do research.
a lot of the Boda books, the bridal books, and a lot of the fashion books, but I don't get too crazy on it. Now I kind of do. Now drawing Isabel for Chupacabra, that's a younger character, and you got to kind of keep it a little fashionable. But I always forget to draw purses on women. Like I always forget to draw, or I'll draw the purse and forget it exists. And they suddenly don't have the purse, and I go back, oh shit, I got to draw purses now for 2 hours. But yeah, it's you never know what it's going to be on the page. Every sketch I've ever done was started off with me going, here we go, and I just start drawing. You know,
I think it's different for you because you write where you're gonna draw.
But when I write like the middle of the book, and I go sideways. I don't start with page 1, chapter 1. I can't do that. And so I think of scenes that I would like to draw, and then how do I pull these all together? Yep. And that's the weirdest part for me, is that moment. For Chupacabra, I knew that I wanted this creature to chop somebody's head off, because I'm known for doing romance, and I wanted to break away from that. So there's pot use in this book, and when this creature attacks, it protects its host body.
Okay.
And that's what she is, and it doesn't do it politely. If it feels threatened, it'll take you out. And so I finished the first book. I think IDW is looking at it right now.
Okay, I was going to ask you that.
To print. And the second one, because I know all the characters now, when you make your own book from scratch, you have to create everything, and it takes forever. You create the characters. Then I created the uncle that takes care of her, and the uncle was a chef, and so I had to make his restaurant, and I had to design the kitchen. There's a lot of creating. Plus, you don't know how the situation, how they'll react to. You don't know these people, so you have to get to know these characters. One of the throwaway characters is a character named John, who's the brother of her best friend. And I started him off by just knowing computer stuff really well, but he does everything from his iPhone. You know how in movies they always have a laptop, like on S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
She's using a laptop. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
If you're a great hacker,
It is.
you don't need a laptop. And she's only checking Facebook. That's all she's doing on S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, well, I checked his Facebook status. Like, I could work for S.H.I.E.L.D. on that. You're supposed to be like this incredible hacker, and you're just getting to people's Facebook pages. You know, my niece can do that. So I wanted him to do everything from the cell phone.
From the cell phone.
In like 2 seconds. And there's a time when he forgets to pay the water bill, and the water goes out, and she freaks out, and they yell at each other, and she tells John, and John goes, oh, hold on a second. Doot, doot, doot. And the water's back on. But the uncle doesn't question it. He's like, oh, at least the water's back on. And so at the end of the book, they're saying, I can't believe you haven't watched Breaking Bad. And he says, well, we don't have AMC. We can't watch that show. I guess we'll watch it on Netflix. We don't have Netflix. And he goes, oh, God, here. And then all of a sudden the uncle's going, when did we sign up for Netflix? And he looks around and he goes, well, I'm not going to question it. So he became a very fun character. In the second book, him and his sister become huge characters in it. They become very involved in her life. Okay. It's all about having this creature inside of you that's a killing machine. And it's like the Incredible Hulk meets the Odd Couple. Okay. And how do you train this thing to hold off a little bit and not to attack right away? And yet she learns also how to trust herself, and that she has this thing that will make her almost immortal because it lives forever, and she gets that ability. But people try to do things with her, and they pay the price. And it's been a very fun book to write, but it took forever because I'm creating these people. The second book, it's like no problem. I know exactly how they react.
Yeah, it's the first one.
So it goes a lot faster. But I have to draw like machine guns, and my weapons suck. Man, do they suck. They look like Army men, the Green Army men. Like those look awesome compared to my gun. So I keep putting them in silhouette, and I keep putting like shadows in front of them and stuff. I'm cheating left and right on my guns. There's a scene where this guy's holding a pistol. I'm almost tracing that pistol off a photo, and it's just like you can hear that doo, 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 piano music. Like it's just so bad. But you know, like I said earlier, it's gotta look shitty for you to get better at it. So I had to really suck it up and go like, all right, well, I gotta make cars, and I gotta make guns and things like that. But I don't know. You just do it. You just make it.
Just make it happen.
Yeah,
That's right.
You, you don't have time to think about the shot. You
That's right.
you get the shot. You know.
And then you worry about, oh, did I make something? Oh, did you look at the picture really fast? Okay, I can fix this. Okay, you try it.
And the shot that you hate most is when they're gonna be like, I love that. You should sell that. And
Yeah.
probably you're same with your figures. The one that you spend
happens all the
hours on or days on or weeks on. Then you go, oh, that's really.
That happens
How
to
about
me.
that one? You go,
Yeah.
oh, don't look at that.
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
pay you
yeah.
$25, $30. But then you go, really? Shit, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that good.
Talking about the action figures, let's finish what we started
yeah,
earlier.
of course, yeah.
What was the character you choose to
Yeah.
customize today?
The cartoon it was from the series Attack on Titan. It was her name is Mikasa.
I haven't watched that series.
I
Is
need
it, is it any good?
That is
Yes.
good, actually.
Was
The
that the one that had all the
manga-
computer animation also? On the, yeah, I think it was. They used a lot of computer.
They use
For
a
the
lot
ships.
of 3D
Yeah.
computer animation.
It looked like Don Bluth
That's very true.
type of animation.
That's very true.
I have to look. I have to look it up. I really have to look.
The series, you know, at first I didn't like the series that much. I haven't seen it, but I didn't like it that much. But I seen a lot of people in the conventions, you know, dressing as these characters. Then I took the time to see it, and I love the story.
The story.
You know, and the characters, how they are, and stuff like that. It's supposed to be.
Is this steampunk? Is this a steampunk style?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
kind of steampunk.
There's two
It's
women
steampunk.
who dress up in steampunk outfits
No,
who
the
were at the
twins.
Aquaticon. Yeah, the twins.
The twins.
All right.
They're amazing, those
Really?
costumes.
Haven't
Yeah,
seen it.
they are.
But it's something like that's so it's one of the things that I like about the series because it's like, you know, it's like they have technology, but it's steampunk technology and stuff like that. And the thing that of the series is that there's these characters and they get together well and stuff like that. And the thing is that they are these giants because they're supposed to be the last remains of the humanity and stuff like that. And they live in a place where have 3 walls. And they name the walls. The first one is
I don't
Maria.
remember the name. I don't remember, but they have a couple of walls.
Yeah,
Bob and Mike.
The Maria wall, the Rose wall, and the Xena wall. And the things that that walls protect them from these giants called Titans. And then the thing is that one of the Titans breached the wall, you know, and the other ones, you know, came in. There was the biggest Titan of the mall and stuff like that. They didn't, you know, prepare themselves for those. And the thing is that these Titans eat the people.
The people.
Who
Stuff
doesn't?
like that.
So, so how are we gonna change those two figures, action figures, into a girl? Because I see it's a girl that
You made
I
it from
know.
a guy?
No,
action
no,
figure?
no.
Okay.
That's the
Say, man.
I was gonna say, like, come
You
on.
are the doctor.
That's, you know, that's the other
right?
easier way to make other.
Yeah, let's see what you have. Let's see what you have. Because I was gonna say, if you're gonna make a girl out of those two guys, you're awesome. You should be working for Toy Biz or something like
I can
that.
do it, but it takes.
You know what the procedure's called when you go from a woman to a man? It's called an addictomy.
You know, one of the you know, the figures that I like to customize is the 12-inch figures, 1/6 scale.
Okay.
And then I have this Obitsu figures.
That's like an
Okay.
old G.I. Joe.
Yes, yeah.
When he had
Yes.
like hair and
Like
kung fu rip.
stuff
But
like
better.
that. Okay, the thing with this Obitsu figures, you can, you know, you can put them, dismantle them, and you can put them together the way you want or whatever, and they have different.
Do you buy
heads.
these online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way
Nobody
no place
carries these
here
on
in
the
Puerto
oven,
Rico where
right?
you can find that. I've never seen that before.
No. This is a
I would think
giant.
a comic shops would carry this.
That's
No,
very
no,
true.
no,
I'm completely with you. But you will see now that everybody's going to buy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They even sell the heads.
Are you putting a baby head on her?
No, it's
Okay.
like anime.
You look really weird with a baby head and a fully grown body.
No, the thing is,
Actually, Titans look like baby, actually.
yes.
Do they really?
Yes, they do.
The thing is that this is not actually a baby. It's like an anime, like the manga.
That looks awfully baby.
It looks like a baby, but it's true. Look at the...
Because the forehead is like really big.
Yes.
The jaw, like the nose, actually. It's very anime-like.
I'm gonna draw like 2 big eyeballs on it right now. And that's like my head.
The thing is that, you know, I'm gonna show.
But this isn't
the
you repurposing an action figure. This is you going from scratch and creating one.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna show, you know, how the techniques, you know, to make the clothing, because these are action figures that needs clothing, you know, cloth clothing and stuff like that. And I'm gonna show you the different materials. You know, crazy glue is one of the materials that you must have, this thing.
So crazy glue is like your best friend?
Yeah.
Well, after a couple hours of using it, it sure is.
It is.
Crazy glue.
And hot glue,
You're my favorite.
material and stuff like that. You know, since I am a collector, I was able to make.
You've got bodies in your house all over the place.
With the things I had, I was able to make.
Oh, no way it is.
Also, you already have something
Yeah.
almost done.
Okay, but
that's
how do
good.
you see this in 3D in your head when you have a 2D image here? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, you know.
Do you have to get
no
images from all over?
No, not really, but you seeing it, you know actually how.
You're saying like it
More or
makes
less,
sense, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't see this as a 3D image.
The thing is that I already saw the cartoon.
Okay, that's true. All right.
And then I know how the
Yeah, but right now, basically, what you're doing is just you're dressing up
a character.
a blank figure. So I think the hardest part right now would be like when you're gonna do the head. I
Yes,
think that we're gonna do that next week, right? That
Maybe
we're
not
gonna-
next week, because next week I'm going to show you this, about the things that you need.
What you need.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
what
okay,
you need
perfect.
Next week we're gonna work on the clothing,
On the
because
clothing.
this was easy for me. But if there's anybody there who doesn't have what I have at the house,
Yeah.
well, I want to show them how they can make the jacket or the stuff.
Yeah,
But I don't want to get technical on this, but according to the drawing, she has a head.
There's something
You're
wrong
missing
with
an
it.
entire skull on
There's
this
something
woman.
missing.
yeah.
That's what the
He
scarf.
actually did
That's what the
a-
scarf's for. It keeps it on.
That's a pose that they do actually. They're like soldiers. That's like a military thing. So they went like this and they was like that.
When I was a kid,
salute.
when I was a kid, we had the GI Joe figures. So you could pull the head off, and so when I would pull the head off, he to me it was Ultron. So it's like because it had more of an android look. So I'd always say that's Ultron. I'd paint him silver, and then it got kind of freaky.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm actually a collector, and action figure collector. And
Yeah.
one of the things I collect is GI Joes and stuff like that.
If you want to watch a kid get violent, give him a GI Joe, and they'll find more ways to kill GI Joe.
It's very true. They
Yeah.
will rip their head off.
You're up in a tree, like 18 branches high, and they're going, "Okay, GI Joe,
You know what?
you're gonna fall to your death."
What I used to do, I used to take a bucket, to get up in the roof of my house
Yeah.
and get a bucket and throw the action figures to the bucket.
See, they had great dead positions.
see?
GI Joe, because
You
GI
see?
Joe had
Yeah.
like every part was movable in GI Joe. Somebody would die, he'd be like,
Then there was one, Mom, I need another one. This one is
What
broken.
did you do?
We used to have we used to have so many GI Joes we have the little ones. I was brought up in the 80s, so I didn't get the chance to play with the big ones. I always play with the little ones, and we had so many. We used to get together, a few friends of us, and me, and we used to get at my house and setting it up to play took so long.
"Oh yeah."
Took so long to set everything up that when we were done. Let's go eat. I mean,
Yeah.
let's go play Nintendo or something like
tired.
that. And we let the figures there like for 2-3 hours, all set up, and we never play with them. We we spent so much time setting them up to play that we never get to play with them.
Did you scream Cobra all the time when
Of
you're
course.
setting up the Cobra guys?
Of course. Of course. You have to. If you don't do this, what's the point, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So basically, we saw now that you have
Yeah.
the jacket and
The pants and stuff like that. And okay.
el suit
How do you do the
blanco.
hair? Do they sell wigs?
different ways to do the hair. Actually, you can do it with actual hair, like from a Barbie and stuff like that. You can take
I
the
can't.
hair.
So
Yeah. It's an action figure, yeah. And you can mold it with this thing that I was telling before, Sculpey. You can mold it, and I'm gonna show. When we get to the part of doing the head, I'm gonna do it both ways. And that didn't
Okay.
sound right.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right either.
What's
When I do your head, I'm doing it both ways.
Okay.
I would think there's only one way to do it.
I'm
gonna-
gonna do the
gonna start with your
the
ears.
hair and with the sculpting and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do next week, right?
No, next week is gonna be the clothing, because
The
I got
clothing.
the
Oh,
clothing.
yeah, right, the clothing,
I got
the clothing.
but I'm gonna show the people
How to get the clothing in case you don't
clothing,
have
stuff like
everything
that.
like you do, because people may not know that Jaime has everything about action figures. He has everything. So if you want something and you need something, ask him. He probably has it at his
How
house.
creepy
so.
is your room, though? Because I used to date a girl who had a doll collection, and it's like rows and rows, and their eyes were all open
Like
like that,
this.
and then she used to sleep with her eyes open.
No.
And I like, so we should go get some. Oh my god! And I go like this, and she like, what? I said, oh, you're freaking me out. You're like your dolls. It was like a Twilight Zone episode.
I'm gonna tell you something creepier. How creepy is my house?
It's
Not
his
my
house.
Oh, that's just the room.
No, that's the room.
Wow.
It's probably creepy for like 2 seconds,
Wow.
and then you go like, I used to have that. It's probably a lot of I used to have that.
I got G.I. Joe action, not
Star
action figures,
Wars?
no, G.I. Joe vehicles in my kitchen.
Oh my god, you're kidding.
Seriously.
You want pancakes? Oh, here we go.
Do you remember
Exactly,
something
like
called?
toast. Here you go.
My first action figure was a thing called Major Matt Mason.
Matt Mason, yeah.
And he used to have, it's when we first went to the moon, and like they had a moon rover thing, and
Yeah.
Major Matt Mason was great, but then his wire would always break, so he was always
Yeah,
like
I
a
know.
Nazi going
Because
like,
it
I am Matt Mason!
It was made out of rubber, and it had a wire inside.
But the
so he can
space
move.
helmet was so awesome, because you
Yeah,
put the
I know.
visor up.
Yep, you see, because it was white, and sometimes it was the visor was yellow, or
Yeah, it was like the new sunglasses where you,
Yeah.
you can put
There,
your
there was
vision.
there was a giant in there that was called Captain Laser. You remember that
I
one?
remember,
Captain
I remember
Laser.
Bionic Man. You could
Yeah.
look through the back of the head and see his eye and go.
Oh,
"Doo,
yeah.
doo, 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 doo." And you could
$6
take
million
pieces.
man.
You could take pieces of his arm out and
Yeah,
stuff. And
that was great.
we also had a stretch Armstrong, and my brother,
Oh, I
my brother and I
remember
tried to
that.
stretch it as far as we could, and it broke, and it
I
had this
hate
red
it.
goop inside of it.
Really?
And it got
Yeah.
all over my grandma because we were on both sides. We go, look, grandma. Look at him stretch.
And it
She's
broke.
going, why are you
And then you
guys
can't use it
rip?
anymore.
And his blood went all over her. It's like,
You can only use it once.
I hate you kids and your dolls. So we always call them dolls. We were like correct her on it. Hey, it's action figures.
Action figures, that's right.
Action figures, not
It was
dolls.
the same thing. Like he actually said cartoon for the anime. Yeah, I watched like what?
Yeah.
No, you did not.
Anime.
Yeah.
How much was your first comic book when you first started buying comics?
My first comic book,
Yeah.
well, it was a gift, but the first time I paid for a comic book, it was 75 cents. It was an Action Comics. I forgot the number right now. It was an Action Comics. And I remember that it had on the
Still yeah,
only
you knew they were
70
jacking the price up.
Yeah, still only 75 cents, and that's when I started. But now,
Mine
now
was
it's
20. 20
Yeah,
cents.
it's expensive.
But asking my dad for 20 cents was like asking your dad for $50 for a video game back then. I had to mow the lawn. I had to edge it.
For 20
Yeah,
cents.
20 cents? Were you nuts?
My God.
My first comic book was Legion of Superheroes. I think it was $2.44 or something like that.
How much was it?
I think it was 15 cents or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you
something like
guys
that.
are old.
I can look at
Don't look at me, man. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I'm sorry. No.
I can look at a book. I like smelling the paper also.
Oh, that's
But I'm
the
like, you know,
best.
those wine guys who go, it's a 1979 bullshit.
Yeah.
I can look at it and go, look at the price and go, 1972. And my kids will open it, 1972. It's like a magic trick to them. Or they look at it, they go, holy cow, 1975. That's like
ancient for them.
that should be on like Egyptian walls, like hieroglyphics.
Okay, I'm gonna make a pause right here because I need to say something. I need to first of all give thanks to the people at Comics Megazone in Arecibo.
Great store.
Yeah, it's an awesome store. Son los auspiciadores del programa de hoy. Los consiguen, están en Arecibo, en la carretera número 2, al frente de Plaza Atlántico, Comics Megazone. El número de teléfono es el 787-878-9339. Cualquiera de las cosas que yo recomiendo aquí las pueden conseguir ahí. Los libros de Tom Beland los tienen allí.
We should go. Comics Megazone. Un grande mercado de cómicos libros. Comics Zone.
You see, we
That worked,
special
that worked.
effects.
Yeah.
That worked. So okay, so it's 10:20 already. So we have to like rush through some of the stuff we have here. Okay, the first we want to talk. I want to talk about the what you guys did on Sunday on in Sidra. So Gio.
Well, it was an activity of the municipality of Sidra, and the mayor wanted to give gifts to the kids, like the Trickins Day. So, first of all, I have to say that I was very impressed with the organization of the activity. It was on
Awesome.
time. It was a lot of jumping things for the kids, and a lot of and the cosplayers. I was like, all of them were inside, and since I was with my kid, I was doing like the line so they can put the little like thingy on him so he could go to
can register.
And I was like all the way over there, and everybody was inside. And when I got to enter the place, I was very surprised because they had put the cosplayers strategically in places and in groups so they could have a better access, or people could have better access to the pictures. And when you entered, the Rebel Legion greeted you, and then you went to see the superheroes over there, and then you see Mario Bros over here, and you see the Ninja Turtles over there. And just to see the faces of the kids was something else. I was especially like, oh my god, with the little kids, because when they saw Batman and they saw
At that age,
Superman,
it's crazy.
they were like, wow. And I particularly remember this little kid that went to Superman, and he was like these huge eyes, like, oh my god, what I'm
think I know
seeing.
that.
And then he went like over, like to his cape, and went like this, and when
He turns,
Superman,
turns.
look at him,
Yeah.
he almost had a heart attack, like, oh my god,
It's real. Yeah.
It's very
like
real.
it's real.
The girls who do cosplay are some of my favorite people in the whole world, and they like 4 or 5 of them have been like therapists for me
Yeah.
on Facebook. It's I love them to death.
Yes,
That's a lot of work too.
Yes, a lot of work, and I really I actually said to the organizers that I really liked that the characters were cosplayers and not what you usually see, that it's characters that you go to a place and you rent
Yeah.
a costume, because they look so real.
They're not
and
like Crash Bandicoot going like, oh,
It was something
kids."
different. It was something different.
It was
you know?
something different, and the
activity.
kids loved it. It was a very good activity. The mayor said that he wanted the cosplayers to be on every activity
Yeah.
from now on, because the interaction with the kids was
Election night.
well, no.
Not yet.
But the interaction with the kids was very good, and the cosplayers had this uniqueness to them and this compassion to the kids, and you saw how much they loved doing what they were doing.
When they look at them, they totally buy that they're that person. That's
Yes.
what's so great about that. I know the guy the guy who did Superman.
Yes, he's a
Eddie
sweetheart.
Burton.
He's
My
like,
niece loved that guy.
yes,
Like,
and he's a sweetheart, and him and the Batman were like extra with the kids. They went the extra mile.
which
because-
voice was he using? The animated series voice or the Nolan? Come here, kid.
The Tim
No,
Burton,
he
the
was
Tim
actually
Burton one.
nice. He was
The Tim
actually
Burton.
nice
Yeah.
to the kids, and they picked them up and they put him here, and
they carried him.
it was absolutely amazing. And they actually treat us very good.
Yes, they did. Because
We took pictures that we are we are a lot of people. Ernesto and Jaime took pictures, and we are going to upload them soon on the webpage in Facebook. And what I actually really liked was that people actually recognized us from the program, and they recognized
cool.
the shirts, and they said that they loved the program, and they were congratulating us. And actually, they told me, I don't know if they told you guys, that they want the program to be on every activity as well, as part of the
Oh, that's cool.
yes.
they're
They
gonna
actually-
Tamara told me that.
Tamara told me, and she told me that they loved us, and they are going to come here and be with us with every activity that they do, because they know that that's part of what this program is about. We want to do a lot of charity and work with cosplayers, and I told her, like, this is your home.
Yeah, that's it.
So it was a very, very good activity. And I know that Ernesto went and he was taking pictures of the cosplayers. And Jaime was in cosplay. You were
I
Green
wasn't.
Lantern.
I was a Green Lantern. I was Jon Stewart in the Green Lantern, and you know, I agree with you because the activity was a success.
It was great. It was
you know,
great.
They treat us incredibly well. You know, he was incredibly organized for activities. We have been in other activities and they organized, but this one, you know, they already had a place for the cosplayers, you know, separated
Yeah.
from all the other places, and they put us like she said in different places so the people can go to this group and this group, and everybody wanted to take photos with us, you know, pictures with us and stuff like that, and they even gave us food, they feed us real well.
2 times.
Yeah, they did 2 times. You know.
2 times.
We even celebrate the birthday from one of the girls in there, the cosplayers and stuff like that.
the birthday girl.
There's a guy who wears a costume. It's Firestorm,
Yes.
and he's
Yeah.
got the
I
flames.
I did. Yeah, I
That
did.
move.
Yeah, I
That-
know.
That's the coolest costume I've seen.
Thank
You
you,
know
thank you.
that, That's
Yeah.
him, right?
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's-
Oh, is it you?
Yeah, it was-
That is the greatest costume ever. I swear. I was seeing that because you've been in Metro Comics
Yeah,
for
Metro
like
Comics,
Comic
yeah,
Day.
yeah, I know.
You're walking around going, his head's on fire. That's the coolest thing. And the flames are moving. And I thought that was but is that a fan? I mean, how do you?
a fan.
It's like like a flame, October flame, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I know it's cloth, but what are you? How do you have the fan hooked up?
The thing is, I made like a helmet.
Yeah.
And I disarm the flame and stuff.
This
and
is the
just
part
put-
where we should mute the program. Top secret information.
If I tell you, you die.
You didn't go to Party City and ask for the flaming head
The thing
helmet?
is, I went on the
He
web.
went to eBay.
I went to eBay looking for a flame that was battery operated.
Now the thing about cosplayers is that you're not supposed to buy your costume at Party City. You have to make your costume. That's
Well,
at San Diego Con,
that's
that's
a-
how it
that's
is.
a
We
debate.
had that debate.
That's a
on the
debate.
first show, actually. We had it.
We're not gonna get into that debate because we did it for like 3 shows and
You're
people
kidding.
people started like, hey, you're talking about the same thing again. So
The only
but
thing-
we got to the same conclusion, all of us, is that it doesn't matter if you buy part of it or you make part of it, whatever it is. The important thing is that you have fun and
I will say
enjoy it.
this: if you go to San Diego Con, it does matter.
Oh really?
They will put you down for that store-bought costume. We used to buy the cheap little kids Batman outfits with the plastic, just a mask with a rubber band on it.
Yeah.
And we used to cut out his face, and we could walk around going, "Hello." We used to do Adam West Batman all the time. Like, you go to order chicken, you're going, "I'll have the chicken, please, with the fries."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But and answering the cosplay thing, it's the only thing I'm gonna say. It's like the model, like in photography, modeling, regular model, she doesn't do the clothing or make the clothing. So it works the same way when you do cosplay. But
The girls who dress up like this, though, and his Firestorm outfit, though, I mean, you can buy a store-bought outfit, but
no, that's right.
you
make
kind
it
of just
different.
glaze over that person, and you go to the people who like I remember at San Diego there was a guy who was a transformer. I see a lot of people doing this now, but at the time he made a gigantic one where he can fold up into a truck.
Yeah.
But when he came back up, he had like stilts, and so he was giant size
was big.
Megatron, and that suit must have weighed like 80 pounds. But when we took the suit off, he was like drenched in sweat. But then you got some guy who's like super drunken Santa Claus bear. He's just grabbed like 18 different costumes and sewed it together and went, "I'm super drunken bear." But I think as long as you're making something that's on that outfit, it's legit. But when I see the twins who dress up like
That's
that,
very
Yeah.
true. It's
because they
odd,
have the
actually.
wiring they go through and everything lights
Wow.
out, the LED lights,
Incredible.
and when you see that, you know that wasn't from a store. So you immediately are drawn to that. I know my cosplay girls all make their own outfits. I will always stand by my cosplay girls and say you got to have it's part of the investment.
It's hard.
It's like me buying books and saying I'm going to sell these books at the. It's like it's okay, but it's a greater appreciation when they make their own stuff.
Yeah. Anything else from Sunday's activity?
No, I think that we covered
Yeah,
basically
the other
everything.
thing would like to thank Tamara and all the
Yes.
people,
All the people who make it
organizers, stuff like that,
possible.
for
Right. A really
inviting
good job.
us, and gave us such a great time.
Even-
Not only to us.
Even though we had a little bit of a scare.
Yeah.
when
Yes,
we
it
were
does.
getting
Yes,
there.
we did.
My card played jokes on us.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, I
Yes.
remember.
Going up that,
Like
that
pick a
Sidra-
card, any card.
No, because we have to go to Sidra, and there's this like
A
this
hill?
gigantic hill of Satan over
Yeah, but
there.
you went into the Twilight Zone because we
Yeah.
tried to reach you actually, Elias,
Yeah,
Gavin, and me, and she was, "Oh, she's answering you." No, she's not answering. What the hell, man? What's he doing?
I saw later the
Twilight
inboxes,
Zone.
and these two were like, she's not answering, is she alone? And I was like, what?
But it was good. It was a good activity. Actually, it was
Yeah, it
like
was
you
great.
said, it was well organized.
Yeah.
And the kids were loving it. That's the purpose of the activity, man. They
Yes.
love it. The magic act, the clowns, the music.
Three Kings.
Yes.
Yeah. The how do you call that in English? I don't know. The jumping house, the
I
air
don't know.
jumping
bouncy
house.
house.
The
I don't
bouncy
know.
house.
Bouncy house.
Okay.
Bouncy house.
So-
Jumping house. I wasn't sure what we were doing there. My house is jumping.
What the hell is that, right? So it was really cool. It's a really cool activity. The cosplayers did a great job. The kids were melting. Actually,
Yeah.
they were like super fan service for them. Like I was like you standing just taking pictures, and I saw this little kid go to the Batman. Come on, are you Batman? He's like, yeah, I'm Batman. Oh my god, it's really nice actually.
I had a lot of kids, and we went to a Guadacon, which was a great con. I mean, I think the biggest con's the Puerto Rico con, and I've been going to that since it was a ballroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had Boba Fett was there one time. The line to meet Boba Fett was out the door, and Boba Fett didn't have any lines in Star Wars at all. And he was barely in the movie, but the fans love this guy
Yeah.
so much, and we had like 2 tables of comics.
And that was on the it was called oh shit, it was a sci-fi expo en la bahía, en sitio how do you call that thing right
San
now?
Juan?
No, en San Juan, sí. El sitio se llamaba
Pier 10?
no, yo creo que
It was
era
near
así.
there, I think,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it was Pier 10. I think it was Pier 10. That was
Yeah.
that was the convention I met you.
It was a little tiny ballroom.
That was the convention I
It was
met you.
me and David Alvarez had a book also.
Yep.
We were like, man, there's no comics here at all.
Yep.
But then to meet him, and then they had Chewbacca also.
Oh, yeah.
And the
Walter
line to meet
Mayhew.
them was like through the
Yeah.
roof. And I mean, I'm Star Wars. I'm Star Trek, not Star Wars. So
Okay.
to me, it was like
Trekkie.
Boba
Oh, yeah,
Fett.
Trekkie.
Boba
Yeah, he's a
Fett.
trick.
But it was what Ricky's done with that con. Now it's huge. Now it's
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing what he did. But Aquaticon was cool too because they gave me a plaque there that said, I was a guest of honor. I'd never been a guest of honor to anything before.
Nice.
And usually it's like, don't let that guy in. Everyone but that guy. And they gave me a plaque that was, I had just really had a really tough year. I hadn't had work for a long time, and my depression was really bad. And I got through it just in time for that con. And they gave me this plaque that said, for all the dragons you slayed and all the battles you fought. It wasn't like to the guy who makes comic books. It was like whoever wrote that knew what I was going through that year, and it's on my wall in my
That's
office
awesome.
room. I
That's
always do
awesome.
it every day. I was like, God, you nailed it. I went through a lot of, I killed a lot of dragons. Bilbo's got nothing on me. I've killed a lot of dragons in my
That is
lifetime.
awesome. That is awesome. Ernesto, háblanos,
yeah.
háblanos del juego, que
Oh, yeah.
el tiempo se nos
Let's
está
talk
yendo.
about Zelda. Okay. The other, like 2 months ago, like I said, that's not like 1 or 2 months ago, a Zelda game came out. The new Zelda game, which is actually, they say it's a continuation of the Super Nintendo Link to the Past. This is called A Link Between Worlds. Okay, so actually, I don't like to talk about things that I haven't, tried or tested or something like that. So I started playing the game, and I see like a 100% resemblance in everything actually. So it feels more like a parallel universe. Yes, the game it's really easy actually. It's not that much challenging. You don't have to you used to go to the dungeon and you get like a sword or a better shield and stuff like that. Here you can rent the arrows, the bow, the boomerang. You can rent them. You don't have to get them into the castle. So it's actually not that challenging getting
Yeah,
stuff.
kind of part of the film was going in the
That's
castles
right.
and all
So
that
when I
stuff.
started the game, my girlfriend didn't tell me it was like that. She said, "Oh no, the game's cool." And I think the day before I bought it, she told me, "Oh yeah, you rent the stuff." And you're what? Like what? And then I started playing the game. And I'm like, "Yeah, you rent the stuff, and so you can have everything." Since it started the game, not exactly everything,
Yeah.
but most of the things, except the swords, you can have them from the start. So it's not much of a challenge, right? So what you do in this game is actually more of artistic thing. Actually, the villain make portraits, actually paint portraits of the different sages. There's 7 sages, and you gotta go catch those and save the world and blah 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 and stuff like that. But the game may be easy, but it's actually very fun. It has a really good fun factor game.
Yeah.
And I
Marvel
always-
Legos wasn't challenging also, but
No.
I played the daylights
no,
out
they're
of that
not
game.
actually. That's very true. They're fun.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you don't play the game because it's easy or hard. You play because it's
You
fun.
wanna have
Yeah,
fun.
you like.
That's right.
Yeah.
So as a gamer, I like challenging things.
Yeah.
So someone told me that when you finish the game, actually there's a hero mode, which is supposed to be more difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know what they mean by more difficult.
They
but-
should make it. They should make it so gory and gruesome. It just flips the kids out.
You kill the knight and the heads
Yeah.
off. Oh, my
Heads
God.
fall off and blood's like Skyrim. Just make it like Skyrim with Link in the middle of it.
That'll be awesome.
So for me, it's actually a very fun game. I think for anybody, I think that people that play the Super Nintendo one, they're gonna have a blast actually because it's so much resemblance.
So it's really retro.
It's actually 100% retro, man. But it's like a remake on a parallel universe actually.
Yeah.
Because it's the same place, it's the same world. The Dark World is not called the Dark World anymore. It's called La Rule. So
Is the price retro?
the price, no. Actually, games before were more expensive. Actually, they were 60, 75.
You think so?
Yes, they were.
In the early days, I think they were more like $30 or $40, but still
But it's the
seemed
same-
like
but
that was like.
it's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
that
the
was
same
my
thing.
thing.
In that case, it is $40 the game.
But how do you have a kid? I mean, Xbox One just came out. and I've been seeing a lot of kids open presents, get an Xbox One. Man, my dad would blow his lid off if he knew he had to buy a $500 game system for his kid to shut him up. You know, it's like.
Well, don't go that far. The Super Nintendo, I don't remember it exactly, but I read that the price of the Super Nintendo was like $600, something like that. So, you know, many people attack the Xbox, the PlayStation.
I had a Genesis.
Super Nintendo, the second Nintendo?
Super Nintendo.
Really?
Super Famicom.
I don't remember being that much. I thought it was $200.
It was 200 something. I remember because $200 for that. At
still
that
seemed
time,
like
it was
$600.
a lot. Yeah, it was the same as $600 right now.
I read it.
I'm still waiting for my Super Nintendo. Thanks, Mom.
Still
waiting for it.
I had a Genesis. All they had was Altered Beast. You know?
Altered Beast. That was a really nice game. Man.
It was a really nice game.
I remember my nephew and my brother had the first Mortal Kombat, and it drove me crazy because all I heard was, "Get over here! Get over here! Finish him! Get over here! Finish him! Get over here!" It's like, God, get over there.
Aprovechando el momento que ya se nos está acabando el tiempo, anunciar a los muchachos de Comics Megazone nuevamente al 787-878-9339, carretera número 2, frente a Plaza Atlántico en Arecibo, y hacen entrega gratis al área metropolitana. Eso es algo que no muchas tiendas de cómics lo hacen, así que aprovechen eso, consiguen lo que sea, desde cómics, figuras de acción, de colección, hasta anime puedes conseguir ahí, y manga, y camisa, y ya dije action figures.
Dijiste action figures, pero es bueno decirlo de nuevo.
Lo puedo decir otra vez.
Es bueno decirlo de nuevo.
Tal
vez otra clase de action figures.
Actually, you are going to have a workshop there soon.
On the 9th.
Yeah, on the
19th.
The 19th, yeah. The 19th. I have it here.
We're doing a seminar. You've been in my.
Yeah, I've been to 2 of them. I'm going to be in this one too. So
look how great you are now.
Actually, believe it or not, it has helped me a lot.
I always take the erasers away, and people are like, "What?"
It has helped a lot. So, aprovechando el momento, ya nos quedan que 20 minutos,
something like that.
Something like that. So, esta es la parte en la que yo les voy a preguntar. I'm going to ask you guys: Did you do your homework? Did you read or read the indispensable Calvin Hobbes, or at least part of Calvin? I know you have read Calvin Hobbes.
I have Calvin Hobbes.
You have read it?
I love it. I have it in my home.
What's that? Yeah. I went to the trouble to put it on an inbox for them so that they could download it and they could read it, and they have not even a page.
How do you not read Calvin and Hobbes though? Once you get to page 1, it's like vroom.
Wait, I tried to do this with the Killing Joke, Batman the Killing Joke last week. They didn't even.
But that's
come on, man.
My student.
Well, we had a discussion actually.
I have a student named Triana who loves Batman, loves the animated series. She actually does really cool Batman art. But the Killing Joke is something where she's going, I'm not ready for that book. That kind of weirds them out, that book.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we talked about last week about the Killing Joke. But we're not going to talk about that.
It's the best
right
Joker
now.
story ever written, though.
I'm going to talk about Calvin and Hobbes. This was last week recommended read, and I've read it. I think it's really fun. The storytelling is awesome. Most of the stories are just three or four panels and up to the next and the next and the next. You don't have to read everything to enjoy it. You just read 1 or 2 pages and you're gonna have fun with it. No sé muy bien ahí, but
the cool thing about Calvin Hobbes is that Bill Watterson messed around with the syndicate all the time. Where normally we do a daily strip, you're supposed to have like 4 equally sized panels so they can cut it up and stack it back there. And he would go like extra long on one panel so they couldn't cut up his stuff.
Like this.
And and he would same with the Sunday things. He quit that because the syndicate kept wanting to merchandise his stuff. He kept saying, no, it's a comic strip. It's not merchandising. And they said, but you can make tons of money. And he says, I'm making tons of money already. So he said, if you tell me one more time, I'm going to quit doing the strip. And they went to him one more time. And he said, goodbye, that's it.
And he stopped.
Stopped doing it. Now he paints. I posted on my Facebook an interview with him that he gave not too long ago. They talked
I'm going to check that out. I know there's a movie about him.
Oh, there is. That's what they were talking about in the interview. I think.
I haven't had the time to check it out, but I'm going to do it because I think it's a really fun book. It's not only you as an adult can read it and can identify with the kid because you were a kid once.
I was Calvin big time.
It takes you back. It takes you back to when you were a kid and you have this, I don't know, about you guys, but I know I had a really, really big imagination. So it takes me back to that. And not only takes me back to that, I can see my kid in it. You know, now that I have a kid, I can relate.
And you
more.
can start seeing yourself as the parents
And
also. It's a whole new strip when you see yourself.
Yeah.
I like that. And there's another strip that I like called For Better For Worse by Lynn Johnson, where the characters all age. And so, like Michael is like a little boy, but by the time she did the strip forever. And by the time he grew up, he was married with another kid, and you got to see the whole progression.
Oh, that's nice.
Everyone there, so characters die and characters are born, and it's an amazing. It was Charles Schultz's favorite strip.
That was the one you were telling me that she had to kill the dog.
Yeah,
because the dog
there's a sheepdog named Farley, and she realized one day that Farley was like 13 years old. And she said, "That's too old for a dog. I got to kill Farley." And her and Sparky Schultz used to talk every morning, and so she said. I just realized I have to knock off of Harley because he's too old. And he says, "No, I love that dog. You can't do that." And he says, "Well, I have to do it." And he said, "If you kill Farley, I'll have Snoopy get hit by a car and nobody will read your strip because I'll get more notoriety for it. I'll get more notoriety for that." But then the way she did it, though, is so beautifully done. And her draftsmanship, like this is the daily comic strip, but she had, like, you knew that house. There's so many details in that house. You knew that Michael's room was upstairs to the left, and that they worked at a gas station. She drew that whole gas station inside and out.
That's nice.
And it's amazing background work on that strip.
I'm gonna have to check that one. For Better or For Worse?
For Better or For Worse by Lynn Johnson.
I'm gonna have to check it out. So if you haven't had the chance to read it, I'm gonna recommend it again this week. I also have something else to recommend this week, but please, if you have the chance to read it, it's a good read. It's fun and it makes you feel better when you finish reading Calvin and Hobbes.
It's just a good feeling. It's such a life-affirming strip.
Yeah.
It's so there's no political angle to it. It's a lot of people wonder why he didn't animate it either. And I remember hearing that one time he saw Wile E. Coyote when they gave him a voice, and it was like a genius type British voice. And he said, "That's not what he sounds like in my head." And he didn't want kids to go through that for the voice of Hobbes, and he didn't want Hobbes dolls. He didn't want. I mean, they were going to merchandise Dallas as. They wanted to like Far Side that. You know, Far Side was on everything for a while. If you haven't read Far Side, that's one of the most genius strips ever done.
I haven't read it.
It's been cloned a million times. A single box cartoon with a Helvetica font caption.
Yeah.
That was Gary Larson did all that.
Oh,
Gary Larson quit because he would go to conventions and people were bringing in refrigerators for him to sign. And he said, "This is just too weird." Yeah, he went to the Chronicle. He tried to sell that strip. No one was buying it, and he went to the Chronicle, and the editor happened to be a science major, and said, "This is hilarious stuff, like scientists having an eraser fight in the classroom, and just really weird, goofy things." And he said, "We'll run it, but we get exclusivity for 5 years." And by the time the fourth year came around, every newspaper wanted that strip. So when the embargo was lifted, he was everywhere, and there was calendars, there was books, and it was magnets and everything.
On everything.
He just merchandised sales on it.
So I'm going to try to check that out too. And the Calvin and Hobbes, you can get it at Comics Mega. So next month they're gonna van a recibir the complete Calvin and Hobbes in a box set. So I'm sure it's awesome. I saw it the other day, like 2 weeks ago. Remember? And it
weighs 800 pounds.
It's a nice box, and it's
really
cheap
big.
for what it has. It's really cheap. It's just $100, I think it is, and it has 4 huge books in it, and it has everything that has been published from Bill Watterson about Calvin Hobbes. So check it out. This week's recommended read. Of course, I'm gonna recommend. True
if you
Stories.
can find it, that's a hard book to find.
I know it's a hard book to find, but there's one that says this one goes to 11, right?
I think so.
Yeah, right. But it's not.
Yeah, that was a sequel.
Yeah,
but there's one by
Image.
Image. The one by Image has the entire run of the self-published run. That's like 17 issues.
Well, now there you have it. So if you cannot find it,
Megazone and Metro Comics both carry that book.
If you can find it and you have a friend who has it. I'm not particularly fun to let everyone have my comic books, borrow my comic books. But in this case, if it's really hard to find, look it up and read it. Give it a read. It's his life story, Tom Beland's life story with how he met his wife, and it's a really, really awesome.
If you like Walking Dead,
Yeah, if you like Walking Dead, this is not the book to
Just
read.
the opposite of that.
It's not the book
If
to
you
read.
just broken up with somebody, don't read this
It's
book.
not a superhero. It's not a superhero comic book. It's really a romance book, and it's
Autobiography.
but it's autobiography, but it's a romance.
En el próximo me va a estar.
Oh yeah, well,
Confirmado.
it's gonna be next month too on comics Megazone. They're gonna
cool.
have it,
Come
so
on. Come on.
that's awesome.
It used
So-
to be fun to watch guys buy that book because they would buy a true story and they would pile on like Batman and Superman books on top of it. It's like they're buying pornography. So they're like, I'll take this and also some Superman.
I'm gonna tell you something. No, when I went to that convention, to the one we're talking about, when I met you, it was my friend Ronin. He's in the chat right now. Who told me he bought the first one. And he said you have to read these, and I told him I told him this it's a romance book. I'm not gonna spend $3.
But
on
it's
a
from a
book.
guy's point of view, though.
And he said you have to read it. And I said, okay. So I went up to your table and we talked. You gave me a blue pencil. I still have that pencil in my book.
Oh, yeah?
in my
I always
backpack.
give those things away.
So, and we talked a little bit, and I bought the first one, and I sat down and read it right then and there. And I went. I think you were up to issue 3. I think it was at that moment. And I went back and I bought the other 2. And every time I bought it, I have like a pattern when I read my comic books. I went to the comic book store every Thursday or Friday and get my pack of comic books, and I have I place them in a certain order when I want to.
I do too.
So I put the first one I put to read is the first one. I'm just.
I know where this is going.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna read this because I read the last issue. I'm gonna see what happened. It's not that interesting right now, but I'm still buying it. Like, I remember, I'm gonna tell you, I was buying at that moment Green Lantern Corps, and I was buying I think it was Dark Avengers at that moment. I don't remember what else I was
Angry
buying.
books.
And I was not liking Green Lantern Corps or Dark Avenger at the moment. So those were the first one I put on the stack. I read those first, and this was right next to right near the end. It was like if it wasn't the last one, it was the
One of the last ones.
One of the last one to read, because I really enjoyed it, and I really look forward to reading it every time it came out.
Yeah, you want
I
to
mean,
spend
you
some
know who I got
time
to
reading
meet for
that
that-
one.
You can tell
Yeah.
that I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm not joking, you know. And it's not that I have one and I'm talking because he's here. I like it. No, I really liked it. You know, it's some of the things that
When I first
really,
met you, I thought you were going to murder me. Because you were like so tatted up.
it's okay.
And you were
When-
dressed as Lobo also. I was like, I'll sign whatever you want to, man. Just don't kill me.
Don't hit me.
Yeah, don't
The
worry.
coolest guy I ever met who read that book, though, I got to meet Pete Docter from Pixar.
Yeah.
When they were just starting out, when they were in Redwood City. A friend of mine said, let's go to Pixar and see what they ran and what Pixar was. And we got to see what they did. But Pete, one time, I went to see him when they moved to the newer studios. And he said, I got someone who wants to meet you. And the guy came downstairs, and he didn't introduce me at first. He said, my wife takes your book. It's at the bottom of her stack on a nightstand. So I know, I've heard that a lot. It's the bottom of the stack book. And then his name was Brad Bird, who did Iron Giant. And he also directed The Incredibles.
Nice.
And Iron Giant's a huge movie to me. So when he said, well, I'm Brad Bird. And I said, oh, the Iron Giant guy? He says, yeah. And I went, you're shitting me. And we had this long talk about comics there in the lobby. But he said, we're doing a new movie called The Incredibles. You should check it out because you're a big Fantastic Four fan.
Yeah.
And I got to look at the storyboards that were up on the walls. But that was one of those things where, again, you're only selling 700 books. Just because you're selling low numbers doesn't mean that you're not making a hit. And it took me a long time to feel comfortable with people telling me they liked that book. Because I don't know, it's just weird when it's something that you make out of your head and people go, I like that. I never had that kind of reaction to my work before. It's a very solitary job when you make comics. It's just you in a room, and you hope to God that you and maybe 2 family members will read it. And when you start getting, like, I just got the guy from Thailand who said, can I have you do 2 drawings for me of my family? And you go, how do you know
awesome.
that? I went to a palm reader once, and the palm reader said, this is back in the, I think the 90s. It said, you're going to be in the arts, it's going to be cartoons, and you'll live on an island, and people all over the world will know what you do. And the only thing I didn't buy was the all over the world thing. But the internet came out. I was there before the internet. That's like, I used to have to scan my stuff on dial-up service, like 2 meg files. Like, oh god, you get to like 97%, and then someone would call you and knock out. You do it all over again. And these scanners would go like chunk, 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 chunk. And so, because of the internet, people all over the world knew where I was. It was a World Wide Web. And so that woman nailed everything that was there. So I never mess with palm readers. Everything else, like religion, I don't buy into it. But that palm reader man nailed everything about it. And also was a numerologist who said the same thing. And the guy before me, they said, well, you're going to have a really tough life ahead of you. So when I sat there, I said, I'm not that guy. And they said, well, you do art. And I said, yeah. I said, you're going to live on an island someday. And then I found out later on that was my dad's dream, was to live on an island and just make comic books. He was in the Navy. He drew. My dad was in charge of things like beer and stuff like that, so everyone loved him on the ship because candy bars and beer is the best job to have. But he also draw women. There's a drawing of him that he did it in, like they would have these yearbooks that they would give the sailors, and he would draw these cartoons that like native women with the boobs hanging down to their knees. And then he would do things about going on shore leave, and all the things that he saw while he was on the USS New Jersey.
Okay.
And so to be doing something that he always wanted to do, it kind of blew my mind also.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
But you never know. You never know who's reading your work, ever.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Same thing.
You don't know who's looking at your photographs.
No.
You don't know who's looking at your figures.
I actually don't like you. I don't see my art like as wow. And people say, "Oh my god, your art's so good." And I'm like, thank you. I seriously don't know how to react when people come to me.
I get comically embarrassed.
It's like, oh, what do I do now? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pull his hand. Okay. And it's actually nice when people praise your work because, it means that someone is appreciating what you do, actually.
I feel that when they've left, I'm too busy going, really? Did you see the heads on page 3 and all that stuff? But when they're gone, I always turn to Lily and I always go, that was just so freaking cool. When you guys stop by the table. And I do get a little nervous when you stop by the table. If it's people I know, I get a little... on shows like this, I don't shut up. I keep talking. But until I know you, I don't remember people's names to save my life. I'm horrible with names. And... like, I was calling you Lobo for the longest time because I met you as Lobo. Like, I didn't even know you had skin tone until like a year later.
Yeah.
Because always in that makeup, And I was calling you Gia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always butchering names.
That happens to me a lot, so it don't worry.
What do you recommend for people who want to make figures? Like, how often should they practice that?
Well, it depends, the kind of figure that you like and stuff like that. But the thing is, I recommend you to look for something that you like, first, to make a figure and stuff like that. I was a collector.
Yeah.
And the thing that some of the characters that I like, they don't make them, in the action figures line. So I was searching for ways to make those characters, and then little by little, by practice,
Can you make the statues that you see? Or is that a whole different expertise?
I might try, but that's not my actual expertise because I like figures that can move and stuff like that.
David
That's
Alvarez
sculpting.
he does Yenny.
Oh,
Or do you call it Jenny?
Okay.
I used to call it Jenny, but I think it's Yenny.
Yes, it's Jenny, yeah.
He had a statue made of her.
And I've seen it.
He's so good. God, he does the most amazing art. And
Who's
when I
that?
saw David Alvarez,
Oh,
David Alvarez.
Oh,
David Alvarez.
he's gonna be here on the 22nd.
he mimics, like, he does Warner Brother books just like Chuck Jones. I mean, the
Yeah.
expressions are done. I've read Looney Tune books since they were 15 cents for Gold Key Comics. And they always had artists who didn't get Chuck Jones' style. David came along, and I would swear Chuck Jones drew this book. And then he started doing like some Scooby-Doo stuff, and he looks just like the Hanna-Barbera stuff. And then he did a Donald Duck thing, and like he's like a chameleon.
Yep.
He can make it look like
Mimic.
And you have to understand that like Donald Duck is the hardest character to draw in comics because everything is done in perspective. That beak has to be his perspective, the feet do.
Everything.
And he's knocking it out of the park.
Yep.
Like it's nothing. He did a Wonder Woman drawing that was beautiful. That I want to write a book with him just for that. I love his stuff. But when he got the statue, I thought, You bastard. Because I want to have my true story statue of me and Lily at the bus stop, or a nice Chicacabra statue of it
That's
curled
awesome.
up. But it's when he got that thing, I was like, yo, look at you, God. You get all the cool toys.
Yeah. But he's really good. He's really good.
Was he writing in? Yeah, okay. What do you say?
No, I was asking Emilio if he wanted us to discuss the Killing Joke for next week, but Frank is saying, sorry, this is Tom Beland's show tonight. So
I talk way too much, man.
No,
I will give you a 6-hour interview.
No, it's okay.
Like
It's
nobody's
okay.
business.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I was gonna actually right now. I was gonna ask you about what do you thought about the rumor of Wonder Woman being an ancient Kryptonian in on Earth for the movie.
Do we get censored at all on this show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we get
Well, it rhymes
censored.
with "buck you." But here's the thing I hate about the DC movies: the animation department gets it so right.
Yeah, it does.
You would think they would go to the animation department and say, "We need background stories on these people."
For these, right?
But instead, they go, "Don't worry, we know how to make this really cool. We know how to make it really cool. Go read the freaking comic books."
Yeah, for starters.
She's not a Kryptonian. Now, I'm going to sound like a nerd on this, but you know what? I grew up on these books. I invested money in these characters. So when Hollywood comes along and says, the X-Men shouldn't have costumes because they look stupid, you've lost me. Like, Wolverine's got to wear the mask.
Yeah.
If Batman wears the mask, Wolverine's got to put that mask. I don't care how gorgeous Hugh Jackman is. He's got to put that mask
Completely
on.
agree with
The
you,
movie,
man.
the latest movie, the Wolverine, the alternate ending, they gave him like a briefcase, and when he opens it, there's a costume with the mask.
But don't give me that
But
shit.
it's an alternate ending, and you
Yeah.
never see him with it on. So
He's only in the movie because fans have supported that book and gotten so into that
Yeah.
character. I had Wonder Woman. I think she's too skinny to play the part. I think
Yep.
you need someone, you know.
I actually was going to comment about something she said on that she compared herself to Scarlett Johansson. I don't know if you read that.
No, I haven't
Scarlett's
read
a bigger woman than she
Yeah,
is.
when I read that, are you seriously comparing
She's got to be able to lift a car.
Scarlett
And also,
Johansson?
they powered her down to where
Yeah,
she's not
that's-
strong as Superman. And part of the cool thing,
Is that you can
go
she
read
can-
Darwin Cook's book on what was the book he made?
The New Frontier.
Yeah, and go check out when Superman sees Wonder Woman at that Vietnamese camp.
Yeah.
And she's with all the ladies, and she's just drinking this big goblet of wine, and she's like going, "I'll take you down."
Yeah.
I wrote a scene once for Wonder Woman where there's two armies getting ready to fight, and they got all their tanks and stuff, and all of a sudden they look out towards the ocean, and she walks out of the ocean, and the next panel, everyone's gone. They bailed on their tanks. Like, they're not even going to mess with her. To me, that's Wonder
is.
Woman.
Yeah.
She's got to have the lasso. She's got to have, I don't care how stupid an invisible plane is.
She's gonna have
Especially
it.
when you see her driving it. You know, she's got to have that. People will say that the Adam West Batman was the dumbest movie, but that movie perfectly reflected that comic book at the time.
Yeah.
it does.
Because they
It
weren't
does.
allowed to do gunfights. They weren't allowed to show the stuff they do today with the Dark Knight. So I love that movie because it's a complete love story to the Batman franchise. The Linda Carter Wonder Woman, she looks like Wonder Woman in that costume, man.
Yeah.
She's
She did.
a big girl.
Yeah.
And if you're an Amazonian, they did a cartoon of Wonder Woman, one of the DC shorts,
Yeah.
where she's in a car.
I've seen-
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen
There's
it.
I haven't
two
seen that
giant
one.
Amazonian. They're chasing Steve Trevor.
No, I haven't seen
And
that one.
go check it out. It's the animation department always knocks it out of the park
Yeah.
with these. I don't care if you don't like the story they're doing. They get the characters right.
Yeah, they get it
Yeah,
right.
they
They
do.
get it
Their
right.
version of Dark Knight Returns, the two-parter, was
Yeah.
so good, and they
They were
mimicked
good.
It was
Frank Miller's
incredibly
armor
great. Yeah,
perfectly.
I liked it. Love
They,
it.
they were good. They were. Somebody's asking me what is your opinion of the Killing Joke before we go,
It's the best Joker story ever told.
right?
It just gets. That's the Joker.
Here's the
go
thing.
shoot Barbara Gordon. Go shoot. Yeah, I mean he messed with Gordon.
Yeah.
big time in that, but it actually got more graphic. In the book, they pulled it back. There was
Yeah.
some big sexual thing with him and Barbara Gordon.
Yep.
My best cartoon scene is the one where they have the flashback when he gets Tim Drake. He gets Robin.
Yeah.
And messes with him. And Tim Drake comes out and he's all dressed as the Joker and he goes, ha 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 ha. That's a weird thing to watch, man. When you're thinking kids are watching this cartoon, that's a
Yeah.
pretty intense
Yeah.
thing. I love watching parents take the kids to these movies knowing that they're going to be tripping balls watching. I remember sitting and watching Spirited Away, and they brought these little kids up, and I went, "Oh, they're going to have a tough." When the parents turn into pigs, you can hear the kids going, "I don't want to be here, Mom. Whatever you're bringing me here for, Mom, you're tripping me out. It'll get me out." My dad took me to see Bambi, and when the mom got shot, spoiler alert, I looked at my dad like, "Why did you bring me here? Where's the mom?" When the mom's dead, and the deer goes, "Your mother won't be coming home with you anymore." And I was like, going, "This is the most messed up cartoon I ever saw in my life, man."
Well, before we go, because it's already 11:01, Shakira Rosario says Tom is so cool. I had seen him.
He is.
I had seen him so many times in conventions, but I'm so afraid to go over. Maybe one day I will finally give him my Isla de la Muerte comic to sign it. Great
What's
show
her name?
today. Her name is Shakira.
Shakira Rosario.
I'm at Metro Comics every Wednesday for comics. Drop me a line on Facebook. I'll meet you there at the comic shop.
Well, there you have it, Shakira. So all you have to do is meet him at the comic shop, and there you go. So, and I agree with you. He's an awesome guy. I've known him for a lot of years right now, and it's the last few months. It's that we've developed more. Of a friendship, if you can,
It's a relationship.
Relationship, yeah.
It's a relationship. It's complicated, you know.
Yeah.
I love you.
So, and I have to
be a man
say,
to say that. Don't look away from me. Look right at me.
I'm reading at the same time.
He's blushing.
Of course I blush.
You
Man.
scary, axe-murdering
he's
looking person.
He's a tall white man. Why wouldn't I blush? Come on.
That looks like
I'm the most unthreatening white man ever.
It must be the hat. It must be the hat.
You'll never see guys cross the street to go to the other side when I'm walking down the street. It never happens.
Well, to me that happened.
Yeah.
That has happened to me. That when I walk, I go to some place and people leave, or that has happened to me.
I can believe that. I almost did it, man. You came to me dressed as Lobo, and I was like, "This guy's really into this." Because some of the costumes look at you like you're living this a little too deeply, and you were like, "Hey, can you sign my book?" And you had like this evil, weird grin going on. And I was like, going, "Yeah, okay."
So yeah, there you have it, guys. This is Tom Beland, and he's an amazing, funny guy. And his book, True Stories for the God, he's done Web of Romance, Spider-Man and the Human Torch, Fantastic Four, Isla de la Muerte. He's done a bunch of cool and awesome stories for Marvel.
This island has done nothing but support me since I've been here. I got people in my hometown who don't buy my work, but here there's always a crowd to buy the stuff, and I think they've been really, really great with me. I love the people on this island.
Thank you. We love you back, and we want to thank you for being with us here tonight. The time ran out really, really, really fast. It's already 11 o'clock, so
it's okay.
Thank you.
It's always like
but
this.
amazingly, we got to talk about everything we were going to talk tonight. So
That's rare.
Faltó.
The movies.
Okay, but we can do, well, there are two, I don't know, things que yo no puedo dar, so we can do that.
We can talk about everything.
Yeah, so we had a great time.
What movie did we not talk about?
The least, top 10 movies.
Top 20.
Top 10 movies, yeah.
So for the next
we want to thank you again for
Thanks for
being
having me
here.
on. This was fun.
And it was really
Whatever
fun.
you want. This is cool.
I hope that when you get the Chica Cabra published, you bring us here.
Yeah.
And have it.
It's
Let
right
us
there in that
see
black,
it, okay?
in that black book.
That is awesome. We should have shown that as a preview. You didn't tell me that.
Those are some of the sketches. I have like 30 sketchbooks.
Okay, so that is for our next your next visit here. So I want to thank everyone. Gracias a todo el que nos escuchó. A Héctor, a Cindy, a Emilio, al otro Héctor, a Ángel, a Ronin, a Lisette, a Frank, a Shakira, a la gente de Comics Megazone, a todo el que nos escuchó, sintonizó y la que nos va a ver en la grabación. Gracias a todos por estar ahí, por el support, por estar con nosotros aquí. Los vemos la semana que viene. Así que, see you guys around, okay?
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Adios. Felicidades.